Notice is hereby given that the Board of Directors of the Green Mountain Water and Sanitation District of the County of Jefferson, State of Colorado will hold a regular meeting at 6 p.m. Tuesday, September 13th, 2022 at 13919 West Utah Avenue, Lakewood, Colorado 80228. This meeting will be held for the purpose of conducting such business as may come before the board. This meeting is open to the public. Virtual meeting options for those who may not be able to attend in person. The district will offer the option of participating in this meeting by video/conference call. To attend, please go to https://us06web.us4/j/4/895-332-25776 or call 669-900-6833 and enter the meeting ID 895-3322-5776. To troubleshoot issues with the connection at the time of the meeting, please follow the link https://support.zoom.us/HC/EN-US-sections-200-305-593-troubleshoot. If you still experience issues, email customerservice@greenmountainwater.org and our IT staff will assist you as soon as possible. The district does not discriminate on the basis of race, age, national origin, color, creed, religion, sex, sexual orientation, or disability in the provision of service. People with disabilities needing reasonable accommodation to attend or participate in district board meeting can call 303-985-1581 or email customerservice@greenmountainwater.org for assistance. Please give notice far in advance if possible so we may accommodate your request. Agenda item number 1 is called the order declaration of quorum. Jeff Baker here.
Todd Hutch there.
Dave Wickman.
Karen Morgan here.
Roger Wendell.
All directors are present. I'm going to declare a quorum. We will close agenda item number 1 and open agenda item number 2, directors matters, disclosure matters. Do we have anything from the directors?
No.
No issues there. We will close agenda item 2. And so UPS, is that a UPS man down or something?
There's somebody downstairs.
Oh.
Working,
Okay.
but there's also somebody who's on.
Okay. Agenda item number 3 is approval of additions to and deletions from the agenda. Do we have anything?
Can we make the adjustments you could ask?
Okay. Yes, we made, so the agenda is correct in the board packet and it wasn't up to date on the website. So we updated it today. So we need a motion. The correct agenda was in the board packet and Dylan said, bring it up in number 3 with the updated agenda that matches the board packet.
Well, I would. So the meeting was properly noticed. The agenda was distributed properly. It wasn't posted properly. So we need a motion to adopt the corrected agenda.
I make a motion to adopt the corrected agenda for our meeting.
Okay, I'll second. Do we have
Well,
discussion?
It's this one. This is the one for discussion, directors matters.
Okay.
It's the one in the board packet, sorry.
That's one I'm seeing here.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me what the difference is?
Yes, the one that was posted did not have all the items under directors matters. And so this one has all the items of directors matters.
More like the draft we saw. then?
Yes, exactly.
Any further discussion? Okay, call the vote. All in favor of the motion passing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have 5 ayes, 0 nays. The motion passes, so the agenda is adopted. Do we have anything else? Okay, I will close agenda item number 3. We're going to move into public comment. And I think before we do that, I guess I'd like to introduce our guests from Fossil Ridge. Would that be okay with the board?
Yes.
Okay, so we have 2 directors. For those of you out in Zoom land, we have 2 directors here from the Fossil Ridge Water and Sanitation Board, or just Metro District. I'm sorry, Metropolitan District. So you guys want to just stand up, introduce yourselves, and
Dave McGrath, Terry Larson. We are both on District number 1 board.
so welcome. We'll be I'll be getting into some of that little stuff a little bit later on. We have put the Fossil Ridge agenda, I believe, is on the agenda, the Fossil Ridge.
Yeah, it's under
IG,
director. of
yeah,
matters.
it's under I.
Did the family that was concerned about their bill, were they coming in for public?
They're
comment?
on there.
Oh, okay.
So, okay. All right, so, all right, let's move into public comment. Per past motion of the Green Mountain Water and Sanitation Board of Directors, May 11th, 2021. Members of the public wishing to address the board during the public comment period are asked to keep the comments civil and related to the items in the agenda or to the conduct of the district business. What pages? Members of the public wishing to address the board will be recognized by the board to maintain proper decorum. Since the Green Mountain Water and Sanitation District Board values your input, we always offer additional opportunities for the public to provide comments by using the district's email system or by phoning into customer service in the event they do not get on during the meeting during the period set aside for public comment. So I'm going to open it up in the room here, and then we will go to those people in Zoom land. So is there anybody in the, Joan, are you wishing to speak? Nobody in the room? Is there anybody online? Please raise your hand if you wish to address the board during public comment.
On the bottom bar, you can find the reaction button and use the raise hand.
Well, can you hear me?
Yes,
All right. So is this the time for my husband and myself to address you?
It is. We also have your situation is under director's matters. If you wanted to wait till then, we'd probably just be rehashing it.
All righty. You just let me know when. I'll just mute it and then we'll unmute when you're ready.
Okay, is that okay with you then?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So we have Ludmilla would like to address the board. Go ahead and unmute.
Good afternoon or good evening. Just questions on the ravine, on the, how is that coming along? Because this has been many months, you guys have been working on it, and it seems like we go backwards on it instead of completing the project. I thought it was all ready, and then we went back and we're getting more bids, so I'm just confused on that one. And just updating on all the lawsuits, especially the big one. That's it. Keep it up, guys.
Okay, we'll be covering a lot of what you just were asking us, so if you bear with us, we'll go over that tonight. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the board online? Going and gone. I'm going to close public comment and open up agenda item number 5, approval of the minutes. I would like to make a motion to approve the July 12th, 2022 regular board meetings and the July 19th, 2022 special board meeting minutes. Do I have a second?
And they all match everybody's changes directly.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
go ahead, just make sure that there were changes made. There was some confusion.
So Director Morgan is checking over the minutes. We do have a motion. We didn't get a second though.
well, I was gonna let her check them out at first.
Okay.
Am I to assume without looking at it yet that those little things that I added are in there now?
Yes, they should, yes. Double check, but everything's combined.
I think that's fine, except for your name. While I've got everybody held up here, one thing I did want to ask about Mr. Woods was, we have not been using the seal, and when we did the last update of the bylaws, that was one of the things that noticed in state statutes, that we put a seal in there to be used on all of our documents. We haven't been doing that. Do we need to get in that habit?
Of attaching the seal to district
Yes.
documents.
Yes.
I don't believe that it is necessary to attach that seal to the minutes, if that's what you're referring to, but official documents that are distributed by the district to the public, yes.
Okay, I was thinking minutes too, so thank you for clarifying. Thank you.
Then if she is cleared, I will second the motion to accept the minutes.
Any discussion? Okay, call for approval. All in favor, say aye.
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 Give me a second.
Well, I asked and you
Well,
didn't speak up, so if you didn't say you wanted something, I need to know.
Yeah, I'm trying to read this real fast. Yeah, okay, that sounds right. Okay, sorry.
Okay, we did pass it, except we didn't have your vote, so are you a yes or no?
Yes,
So we have 5 yeses, so the minutes for July 12th and July 19th, 2022, the regular board meeting minutes and the special board meeting minutes have passed. So I think you have to sign that, Dave, and then we will move into agenda item number 6, director manager report. Jeff?
Yes, so we definitely want to shorten that because we have a lot to cover. Did anybody see anything in the district manager report that we need to discuss?
I had a congratulations to you guys for the savings at 21K, real savings, and then we're able to apply that on the HVAC reduction.
Yes.
So thank you. That's
Thank you.
probably around, I don't know what the percentage of that, for the total of that bill came out. I've been running for a while. So thank you. And then the other thing is I was looking on the why we had an increase on the inbound calls. I noticed we jumped up. Was there something the public was more concerned with this month than in other months?
Yeah, it was a hot month as well. I think it was the 3rd hottest August in recorded history, 3rd hottest summer in recorded history. So a lot of watering going on, so a lot of higher water bills due to the hot weather.
So,
Sorry.
yeah, well, thanks. And for those of you out there, we've asked the district manager and the staff to, we're trying to keep track of where we are actually saving money or cost avoidance and trying to tally things. It's one thing when you see what we're spending, but then when you see where the district is trying to save or has made a cost savings, we're also trying to, that's some good news stuff that we want the public to know. Anything else, Jeff?
No.
All right.
Next question. Can you tell us about what the status is of the Ravine Bridge? Did Dylan send out some suggested language for the sign?
Yes, so the signs are on order. We'll post them when they come in, and Terry will talk about ravines this evening, and it is going, we are working with the contractors to make sure the bidding goes more to more states to get more bids on it. So it's strictly pylons. So, and they're working with permitting from the city of Lakewood naturally on that and a lot of other projects too. And Terry will talk more about it under capital. That's where we're at with ravines.
Very good. Would it be possible to bring back the report from the maintenance and engineering? I like the construction report and the maintenance report detailing all the main breaks. We don't need to go over them, but just that information was helpful. Does anybody have a problem with that?
No, that's a good metric.
Yeah, they all provided good information. And what is going on with the engineer RFP for diversifying some of that?
It's posted on BidNet. The deadline is next month, so we'll give you guys the bids when we receive the bids.
Okay. That is excellent. Okay, good. I think that's it.
Anyone else? I'm going to close agenda item number 6, and I'm going to open up agenda item number 7, capital and construction projects. Is that you, Jeff, or is that you and Terry?
Yeah, we can read in. So Terry's been working real hard. We're doing a great job with Bear Creek Golf Course because we're going right through the golf course, and we've been working with Terry, locating all the manholes and getting set up to make a plan to line the pipes between manholes. And Terry, are you on? Is he there? He's on.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, Terry. Go
Good,
ahead.
good. I seem to be stuck unmuted there for a minute. So as Jeff was saying, the Bear Creek Golf Course's project is moving forward. We have submittals from the contractor. We still have a couple manholes, I think 3 down in Bear Creek Water and Sand District to locate that were buried. But the golf course personnel actually were very helpful in finding manholes throughout the site. And, you know, Jeff Bradley, the owner, president, was out there in his jeans, tromping through the brush, helping us find them. And that was very, very helpful. So we've located most of them. The contractor will be ordering the materials, and you know, there's a question mark. We haven't heard back from them on what they think the timeline will be. You know, like many products, this may or may not be an issue on timing, but it's moving forward well. And if the product comes in soon enough, I would hope they'd be lining in approximately a month, beginning lining, actual work on the sewers. So
Terry, are we doing any, is it GIS or whatever, where we're satellite marking when we do find these pipes and or putting tracer lines? Okay, Sam.
yes, Sam was out there with your GPS equipment, nailing those down as we find them, because there's been a missing record of those for a long time, and it's very good information. Yes.
Thank you.
Kipling, I reached out to kind of spur Lakewood, and their engineer got back with me. I offered to meet if it'll help expedite. He said he hopes to have that completed in a few days. So with that, we should be able to advertise for bids. So I'll keep bugging them. You give them a little time, and if you haven't heard back, you reach out, and you got to prod them occasionally. But hopefully in a few days, we'll have their approval or their comments, and we can put that out to bid.
Terry, do we have, because I know CDOT has a kind of another waiting list. Do we need to apply for a permit through CDOT or whatever for this?
I talked with Lakewood about that, and they said for Kipling and Alameda, they oversee the CDOT process.
Okay.
Yep, which is huge help for us.
Okay, that's good news.
Yep. The ravine sewer, that's submitted, that package Lakewood is reviewing. We've had some conversations with them, multiple conversations, but they'll review that. And once their review is complete, we will, advertise for bids for that project.
Any idea on how long it's going to take for them to do that?
It's usually in the range of 4 to 6 weeks. And what I do is give them a little time, like I did on Kipling. Then I reach out to say, would it be helpful to meet and go through the project? And that helps speed it along. But usually on the order of 4, 5, 6 weeks. And I may have mentioned this previous meeting, but we did complete survey for all of those manholes so that easement is being corrected. as you recall, a lot of the existing sewer line was not in the easement. You know, this went back to early 70s and who knows why, but we were charged with getting that taken care of, and the surveyor is completing that work.
Okay.
The last item I have under the capital is Solterra filing 21. This is 48 single-family houses. I was told that it's likely their last filing for Solterra, that this should be the end of it. This has been brought up since 2019, and this is very common with their projects. 2019, we did a review. They responded to comments. 2020, we did a review, and they did come back this year and said we're ready to go to construction. So you wanted to get approval from the board.
This will be the closeout probably for the Solterra area.
That's what they told me a while back. I asked, and I asked actually for confirmation because they told me that back in one of the earlier reviews that this should be their last filing.
Okay.
Mhm.
Dylan, do we need to motion to approve this, or can I just go ahead and sign it?
What do you have there?
We have the plot plan for Solterra filing number 21. It's showing the site and the legal location and address, sanitary sewer, and it's just got the signature blocks. It's page
It's
1
just
of
the
7. Yeah,
It's the cover sheet, but we don't have the other 6.
Okay, Jeff.
Yeah, and
Guys.
And
Dave from Fossil Ridge has a question about that too.
My name is Terry Larson with Fossil Ridge Metropolitan District. I wouldn't make a comment. These are townhomes, not single-family homes. And the second part to this is that the IGA is with Fossil Ridge Metropolitan District. Brookfield is the developer. They're no longer on any of the boards. We haven't been involved in the process or anything at all. And I believe that somehow we ought to have a sign off or something else on this sheet as well, because we haven't seen it and don't know what's being proposed. I'm not trying to come in at the very last minute and
No, we
talk
appreciate
about this, but I wasn't aware of it.
we appreciate the situation or lack of transparency. And so Dylan, how about if we hold off on this? And I think we probably need to make a copy and get this to Fossil Ridge.
Yes.
So we only have the cover sheet, so is it okay to hand it off to them, Dylan?
I could email them. So
Yeah,
And the
yeah,
full-
don't circulate any originals.
I'll
Yeah,
email the board and everybody.
that would be fine. And Jeff, please go ahead and email that to me as well.
Okay.
and I would assume the full set of construction drawings.
Yes, please.
Perfectly appropriate. I was not made aware of that either. And we've been working with these same engineers for years and years.
So Dylan,
on the
just to
Solterra, so.
be fully transparent, we have signed off on other, especially since I've been on here, I've signed on filing 21. So we may want to make sure we're clean with Fossil Ridge on that. So I don't want a problem or, something laying out there that we have a defective document for some
I
reason.
think the question might be, and I don't know who's on there, I think your engineers there.
So Terry Kenyon is the engineer and Dylan Woods are both online and they're both listening.
So is Dylan the attorney?
Yes.
Correct.
I am.
I think the question, sir, would be the authority requiring, why are certain people required to sign off on it? As Terry pointed out, the developer, which was part of the Fossil Ridge Metropolitan District Board, resigned in 2017. It's all resident run. And so I'm wondering if somewhere along the line that something got skipped. I mean, Terry makes a good point. what authority are we following as to who should be signing? That might be helpful.
Yeah, I gotcha.
But by the same token, you can't unwind what's done and built.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for the,
I think just trying to keep the documents clean, you know, so we've had the issues over there with you know, with Big Sky and those kind of things. So we're trying to keep everything nice and clean as we go forward. So I don't want to have any overlap or defective documents going forward. You know, if we need to pause and fix this now, then we need to do that. So this is a good time to probably pause on that and clean up the correct path going forward.
Yes, and again, I'm surprised we were never informed.
I'm
because
I'm
we were-
not surprised.
Um, and just a point of clarification, the reason Green Mountain is party to signing and approving them is, of course, because they flow through the Green Mountain system. So it not only needs to meet Fossil Ridge, but also Green Mountain's design criteria. And that was established, you know, at the beginning with Fossil Ridge.
yeah, our participation in this is pretty limited, but I think it's appropriate to take a moment and review it. And I will also do a little digging into the recent filings.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
You guys, stupid question, but do you guys have a copy of the IGA with Green Mountain?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. I didn't mean to make it sound stupid, but I can't assume anything anymore. So.
I've been reviewing the 2014 version, the second amended one is what I look at.
Okay. So we've got this on the agenda tonight to talk about this again, because the IGA comes up. So, you know, we wanted to get started early and, you know, we didn't want to just rush through everything. So it's good you're here. We appreciate that. Probably more than one reason or another. So, all right.
Can I, just for a point of procedure, these are usually, we need 30 days notice for these signatures, or at least enough time for us to review them. So this was one of those things that was not on the draft, just kind of came up. I was not aware that there'd be any signings. So if, I thought it was just a discussion point. So if there's anything that we would be voting on to sign, can we have that circulated a couple weeks out and at least have time to get Dylan to look at it? I always review the full set of documents.
Yes,
But we'll
in the
need some time.
backup packet. So,
Right.
Yes, for sure. So we'll get the full set of documents, send it out there.
okay. All right.
Thanks, Terry.
All right. Does anyone have any questions for Sherry or Jeff under the capital and construction products?
No.
We're good. All right, we're going to close agenda item 7. We're going to move into financial matters and return that over to Director Hooks. And I did have a couple of questions because this usually goes pretty quick. So
Fire away.
do you mind if I ask
No.
my questions? So I noticed we had Doug, are you on? Is Doug on? Oh, okay. So maybe Jeff or whatever. We had a high landscaping bill for Virginia. I can't see the line item on that. So I don't have it pulled up. Can you bring up the financial section? It was pretty expensive for the landscaping. I don't know why it was so high. I know that. Toggle through, it's near the middle. It's gonna be. All right, go up.
It's under office and grounds.
I think it's down on top of the page right there. So where we had a monthly landscaping irrigation repairs of, I think it's shown over there in the right-hand column of 3546. What happened there? Or does anyone know what happened?
I have to get back with you on it. $3,546.
That's what's in the right-hand column. And then seemed a little bit high for a lawn my size. And then, and by the way, I'm for hire if that's what we're paying. I should fix that stuff. And then we had $602 for an ice machine maintenance. Through in here. What happened? What's going on with that?
There's a large ice machine in the basement that the workers use. They have rebuilt that. It's a very, it's a hotel size ice machine. So
It's actually cheap.
Oh, I know, I just wasn't, I mean, just,
Yeah, it's below us.
okay. And then, we've got this solar garden going on that's been going on forever, and I guess you're kind of more of a financial dude. I'd like to know what our return on investment on that. If we're not really getting an ROI, we're good.
Doug was running the numbers recently, and it was, we were just talking about it on Saturday.
Because I brought that up last month.
Yeah, Sam, if we could, or Jeff,
Yes.
put that for the next agenda item, that's the kind of stuff I think we need to show that there's things that feel good, but it sure be good that we need to see an ROI on that. So
I'm sorry, an ROI on what?
return on investment.
On what?
It's
That
the solar garden where we,
On the solar panel.
If we're making money on it, I'm good with it. If we're just losing and do it because it sounds good, I'm happy to turn the light off.
yeah. Yeah. I had like 7 calls today from Excel trying to sell me something. So. And then my last item was the trash pump emergency repair for $5,800. What was that? Probably under equipment.
Yeah, that's a very large pump we use in the field to pump out, manholes and everything. It's a pretty large pump. That's why it costs so much to fix.
What happened to it?
I don't know. I mean, I think he might have broke his diaphragm. Might be back with you on it too.
No, well, yeah,
Trash pump.
and that's all I have.
It's an industrial sized trash.
Yeah.
It's pretty big.
Would you mind backing up a moment? What is the solar garden? It looks like there's 2 line items for it.
So we pay, they have a solar field somewhere.
DIA or?
I don't know where the exact location of it, but it's like a partnership thing.
We have invested in it.
Oh, okay.
I think it's their goal. I think it's in that direction.
But it's a solar array that we've invested in,
Right.
and we don't know if we have a return on investment.
Correct.
Okay,
Well, Sam
I'm
is
just
saying he
curious.
believes that Doug said we were, but
Doug and
we're
I
gonna
were having a
verify
casual
that.
Conversation.
Yeah, but we'll verify that.
Because I mean, it's good to see that stuff, but if we're having to put money out of pocket to feel good, there's a church right over there if you want to feel good.
Rhonda Peters checked into that pretty thoroughly last year.
Okay. That's all I had.
and it was positive. Okay.
So in that, I've actually gone over and reviewed all the financials, and everything is acceptable and good to me. So I would make a motion that we accept the monthly operating expenses and the unaudited financial investment reports for the month.
So Dave Wickman has a second. Do we have discussion?
Please. I have some questions too, but please go.
Just a quick question. Do we normally provide the crew with work clothing? Is that part of
Yes.
normal expenses? Okay.
Safety boots, inclement weather, clothing, and stuff like that for emergency.
Fair enough. Okay.
Well, I have kind of the same question, because those kind of expenses, I could not get away with it. You could probably do it at Lockheed, but I couldn't get away with it at government level for my safety clothing. And so I was looking myself at the employee expenses, because we've got something, there's always something every month now, it seems. Not very much in the scheme of things, but just to keep watch on the lunch this month was the employee appreciation month. Lunch, that was not as much as the gift cards we gave them last month, but it's always something like that. So I was watching that too. So I'm not gonna object now. I just think it's something that we need to keep watching. So.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor of passing the 2 items on the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All 5 are ayes, 0 nays. The motion passed. On the August 2022, September 2022 daily monthly operating expenses and the August 2022 unaudited financial investment report, which closes out financial matters. Now we move into directors matters. And Roger, I will let you put this on the agenda, I believe. And we have the customer online. So if you want to run that.
I am having trouble finding it in my notes here, but I know in summary, we have customers that are concerned
possible leak issue that's elevated their month or their bi-monthly water bill pretty high. And the question I had asked earlier is, would we customarily consider reviewing somebody's bill in a case like this? And I think generally based on past history and my conversations with Mr. Tyus, that we do indeed consider those kind of alterations to somebody's bill. I don't know enough about it though to make a specific recommendation as to an amount or if we should move forward. So I'm open for suggestions.
Well, so we'll have Jeff explain, and he has put that out there, but now we're in the open, we have the customer on, so if you would like to unmute and now is your time, listen to your side, and we can go ahead and have this conversation.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
All righty, so my name is Lorna Sarewski, and I am here with my husband, George Sarewski. We have been residents of Lakewood for 24 years in the same home. We were contacted recently via email from an employee from Green Mountain Water and Sanitation. And this individual said that we had a potential leak of 167 gallons per hour for 2 straight days. I said, I don't think so. That's a lot of water. We would notice that. Went all around, didn't see anything. Somehow it seemed to stop approximately sometime between 10 and 10:30 a.m. on the 31st. That's what I was at least communicated to through an email. This is one thing we would like your guidance on, please. And the other thing, if you wouldn't mind addressing, we noticed we had asked Mr. Tyus to send us our consumption history detailed. And we have here a detailed history starting 2019 going through 2022. And I'm specifically addressing August just to make it easier on everyone. And what we do notice is an uptick in water usage. We have, for example, in 2019 in August, it reads here 24,000. Then we go to 2020 in August, 41,000. Then we go to 2021, 34,000. And then this August 2022, 65,000. Now here is what we would like to present to you. We have not changed our habits. As a side note, we do not have grass in the front or back, never have for 24 years. So this is 2 things for you to address, please. We have the 167 gallons per hour for, it looks like somewhere around 48 hours. And then we have a progressive increase in water usage. Would you please be able to give some guidance and remedy to these 2 things?
I guess my first question would be, did a technician go to the home?
Yes,
And what did they discover?
they checked the meter and the meter checked out accurately.
Okay, but it was not like they found a leak.
No.
Okay.
So they shut off the house, shut off in the house and the meter. So everything between the meter and the shut off, there's no leak.
No, we didn't see any leak, and the meter stops and goes, so the meter checked out accurately. There was no leak.
I need clarification. It was my understanding then that there was excessive flow for nearly a 48-hour period, but then flows were abnormally high after that. Did I understand that correctly?
No, it
No.
went back.
Went back
It
to
went back
normal.
on whatever that, the 31st went back to normal.
Yeah.
So we had 2 days at 167 gallons per hour. So that's kind of where we're at. That's why I'm wondering if there's a water main leak, you know, in between the meter and the shut off. Is there,
It's back down now, though.
you guys have a water softener or anything like that?
No, sir, we do not have a water softener. We do not have irrigation system. We do not have a swamp cooler. We do not have air conditioning. We are just your standard traditional old Colorado home.
Okay.
Could I
We do
ask
not
Mr.
have-
Titus, have you seen this kind of incident before with other residences or businesses where it jumps up dramatically just for a short period?
Well, yeah, so the way, it's common to see with the digital ion meter system where we track it. That's why the email was sent out that shows possible water running where we reach out to residents. We do it every day. And so this was, customer service reached out, said, hey, you could have a possible fixture on because of that type of flow. And then the technician was sent out to check the meter, but there's no flow, there's no excess flow now, so the meter shows correctly. So the water bill is about $200 above the normal water based on that table I sent you guys. So the table I sent the board is the same table I sent the customer.
Thoughts, questions?
This isn't, do you know how often this happens? Because this isn't the first time I've heard that there's a mysterious large water bill for 2 days and then with no fixes happening, it just goes away.
We haven't tracked the matrix on that one. I can start tracking that one.
Well, maybe not track it, but just a general sense or an idea, maybe over of course, you're new to the district, but would you have a sense of how often this might happen?
Do you have
Usually,
any idea, Sam? Have you
We
seen
have
this
like
happen before?
we have like water meter checks out in situation where they really don't have any large water consuming, like Lance, or, like sprinkler system, desal type things, or.
So normally if we send an email, and a tech or someone goes out, do they typically find like a running toilet or like their irrigation system is running? I mean, they typically find something.
They did that with me. I had my water bill went to $500. I mean, it was crazy. And they had contacted me and I found I had a leaking solenoid. One of my sprinkler solenoids was flowing by. So it alerted me.
You need a good sprinkler tech.
My apologies to Director Morgan. I didn't mean to block her request for data.
No, that's good. I just, when I asked around about it, I heard that is common. They do that. They don't know what's leaking. It's, and I asked, including our master plumber on the board here, who knows that it's not an uncommon story, but not knowing the intricacies myself, that just sounds strange to me. So.
Well, without a sprinkler system, they just have their toilets and faucets.
Right.
It's 167 gallons would be a lot of water to go on.
Like what was a shower? I don't even know, just for my knowledge. Like say if you turned on a shower, how much does a shower run an hour?
2 to 3 gallons a minute. So, usually we see leaks between 2 to 8 gallons per minute for any type of fixture. It would be a garden hose, a toilet, a shower or something. Usually I'd say 80% of the things we find are toilet leakage, and we do dye testing.
So it's conceivable, like he says, if you're at 2 to 8, you can get close to the 160 gallons per hour.
Yeah.
So like if someone turned on a shower and it ran literally for 2 days, but someone would not have to notice or hear it.
8 gallons per hour apparently is.
8 gallons per minute.
960.
Well, if it was 3 gallons a minute, you'd be at 180. If it's 2, you're 120.
Yeah.
Well, my inclination would be to adjust their bill downward to whatever the average daily use would be. But with maybe the caveat that, are there ways to, I don't want to indict anybody, but to mark an account just in case this happens again in the future, we can be more helpful and look for some kind of problem?
Oh, yeah, every account is marked because of the digital meter system we have, so it's already automatic. That's what started the whole thing to begin with. We picked it up on the ion meter system.
So we have to be careful. We just go to the meter, right? Once you're meter towards your house, that's incumbent upon us to, manage that. So the district doesn't do that. But
So what you're so like, say if we took the month, took those 2 days out of it.
Well, not the 2 days, but that whatever the flow is above normal.
the delta of
Yeah.
their normal.
It's like, yeah, so it was 65,000 gallons, so it's like 35,000 gallons above normal, so it'd be minus like $200 off the bill to bring it down to average August bill for the past, ever since 2017.
Well, to put you on the spot, would you be comfortable with that as a manager?
Oh, yeah, I've done it my whole career because we didn't, number one, we didn't find anything with the meter. Number two, we didn't find leaks and keep in mind, 99% of the time the customers say, oh yeah, I found a leak in my toilet, or I found a hose on, or I found a solenoid. So nobody found anything. So we got to do more research with the meters.
So Dylan, are we setting a precedence, or are we in, what's your opinion on where we're heading here?
You are well within your discretion, whatever you do, basically.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yep.
Could we ask the customers what they're specifically trying to seek? Do they want to go back to their daily average, or what?
Yeah, so what's the ask? Can you let us know, please?
Would you repeat your question, please?
What are you wanting from the board?
Well, I would like, please, a remedy to the 167 gallons per hour. What you feel is appropriate. I do not think it would be appropriate to pay for 167 gallons per hour. We were not using it. Now, we've been in our home for 24 years. We've paid our bill for 24 years. We've never had issues before. So I'd like you to remedy that, please. And then the second thing is, if you could please address the fact that our habits have not changed, and yet the consumption history shows that the water usage, let's just take August to simplify it, has been going up.
That's what I was getting at.
So, yes, okay, so I guess there'll be a two-part answer here. So Jeff, would it be how hard is it for us to swap out meters?
Not a problem.
Okay, would that be okay? Would that address that? I mean, that's the only thing I can think of without really getting into elaborate testing and verification. If we were to swap out your meter, would that be a good solution to your second part of this problem?
I think for now, yes. Are you also, did I hear you correctly, please? Are you considering reducing the bill for that time?
We are, but I wanted to talk, we got to have the board agree on that, the first problem. The second one, we're just asking the district, whoever's got their phone, could they please silence the noises, please? Go silent on phones. So the board will address your first issue, and the manager will make sure we get a meter swapped out.
All right.
Okay, so I guess I would like to motion to reduce the delta at 167 gallons over 48 hours from customer's bill. Do I have a second?
I second.
We have a second. Do we have discussion?
I have points. I can understand that this is an onerous bill, but I do think we need to figure out a methodical way to handle this. Because I don't know what the problem is. And that is part of the problem here, that we don't know where the problem is, but mistakes and faulty plumbing does happen. So it happens. and that's just one of those things. I can say we can do that today, but I'd like to get an analysis of how often it happens. How many people could be asking for that, because I have heard this asking before. We can't assume the bills for all of the leaking sprinklers and whatever, leaking
Well,
toilets and
so that's
whatnot.
why
But they're saying it was not.
But I mean, I
I
understand,
know.
but we don't know, and all we know
Right.
is right now that our meter tested out.
So the
So-
best way to do that, Karen, is we start from a new baseline. That's a new meter. If there is an issue, you shut off the inside shut off in the house, right?
Okay,
Then you have, this district clocks that meter for however long they run it, 10, 15 minutes. If there's any movement, you have a water main leak.
Okay.
If it goes, you can then open up the shut off valve in the house and see if there's any flow beyond that. If there, and there will be some things, and see what it is. But that's where we don't want to get too far into the weeds and cannot get too far into the weeds.
but
And I understand what you're saying. Like say if someone left their shower on for 2 days and they just tell us it's not, we don't really know that.
I would be more inclined if they ran these tests and then said, we looked at that ourselves and.
Yeah,
it's
I
not-
understand exactly what you're saying.
Well, so if you listen to the scope of everything, so
Yes.
they have pretty much
They locked
a
it
very
down, they've got
stripped down,
outlets.
yeah,
Yep.
it's pretty stripped down house. So I'm kind of like, I'm struggling to see where 160, somebody that's had to deal with this stuff, that's a lot of water.
Sure,
It would show up somewhere.
Yeah.
Not necessarily if it's in the ground, I'm gonna put that caveat there. If you have a water main leak, you could definitely have that in the ground, no problem.
that's what I mean, there's problems and that is part of the issue here, that we don't know what the issue is. So I hesitate to start doing this when we don't.
Well, that would be the main thing, and that's why I asked Jeff at the beginning of this, and he said they had gone out and verified
They're by
main.
our meter, yeah,
the meter and the main.
the main.
Which is, somebody's got to shut off the house. Shut off valve in the house, and you clock the meter.
Yes.
If the meter doesn't move, typically your main in between the meter and the house is good.
But for clarification, the main is not our responsibility.
From the meter in, everything from the meter in is the customer.
Everything from the street.
From the street actually in. The street tap for water, street tap for sewer is customers.
Yeah.
We kind of do that part, and that's what they've done, it makes sense, go and tell the customer to shut off their shut off valve, and then we open up the meter pit, and then we clock the
Then you
meter.
can see it.
If it's moving with that happening, you have a main leak. If there's a leak on the other side of the meter, which is on our side, which we talked about that, we don't see that. That would show up in the gross. We know we have leakers everywhere.
Yes.
Everyone does. It's hard to track that, but they wouldn't get billed for that because the meter wouldn't see it.
And we use the terminology service line leak versus main line is our line, service line is the line that branches to their house.
Okay.
And not to put them under a microscope, but maybe we could make this an agenda item, whether we resolve it here or not, and just take a look and see what happened after you put the new meter in
Yes.
at our next meeting.
Well, and they would, I'm sure, see how this goes, because I think where I'm struggling with this, with them not having a sprinkler system or a swamp cooler, that they are actually seeing their seasonal, like I know this was the hottest August on record, I think. And so everyone's gonna see a big spike in their water usage, right? But if they're not having a sprinkler system and they're not, you guys don't water your lawn with a hose or anything, right?
We don't have a lawn.
Okay, they
We don't
have
have-
they
we
have a
don't
swamp
Any
cooler.
lawn. Yeah, we don't have air conditioning. We don't have a swamp cooler. We don't have irrigation. We do not have a sprinkler system. We're
They
bare
don't have a
bones,
water softener, which also.
no water softener.
Osmosis type stuff.
The only thing I did once have, because my son had called me, I actually had my washing machine, the thing had broke and it was feeding the water continually through it. But he just called me and he caught it after like an hour. He was just wondering why the water kept filling for an hour. And so, I mean, we caught it fairly quickly, but I mean, yeah, there are other options of things that could happen.
And that would show up, see, that's another thing, at 167 gallons, you would exceed the capacity of the washing machine, and then it would flood out. There's no overflow to the washing.
Well,
machine.
it did actually fill my laundry.
You knew it though.
I knew it. I had no doubt there was water there. Zero doubt.
All right, so we have a motion, we had a second, we have discussion. You want anything else on that, or?
No, I just want to put out there to look at it for future policy. But since we are talking about this and thinking future policy, can you also look at the Visa card changes when people move and they have old addresses on file or old cards that get auto billed, because a lot of people don't do that auto bill. It's a totally separate thing, but while I'm thinking about it, it is our policy that if you get billed and you haven't looked and you've moved and you have an old credit card or something like that, and that communication hasn't been there, that we're still gonna bill you all the late fees and whatnot, and you just haven't looked. So that might be something worth updating too. But anyway, separate topic, but I'd look into that.
Okay, so I'm gonna call for a vote. All in favor of the reduction of delta of 167 gallons times 48. Say aye. So we have, the motion passes. We will reduce your bill. We will add the district will get a hold of you to replace your meter and let you know. You will be without water during that duration of time, just so you know. And the district will let you know when we're going to be showing up.
I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for your inconvenience. Okay, old business and new business titles and agenda. I don't know if you put that on there.
That's me.
Okay.
Yeah, remember from last time I was mentioning that our agenda does not follow the format of the bylaws. So anyway, I've written up the motion for you. Pretty straightforward. It's almost identical to the language that's in the bylaws. I think there's a couple places where it, maybe added editorial comments, but do I need to read it or?
No, I think we can look at it and make the motion. I looked it over. You need to make a motion.
All right, I move that. Okay. I move to modify the board meeting agendas to more closely conform with the requirements of the district bylaws, section 8, conduct of business, subpart B, subpart C, order of business, to read 11 points here.
So those out in Zoom land, we have a dead paper agenda that we would be trying to make the agenda follow the bylaws under section 8, conduct of business, subpart C.
Probably a thing to point out to you that which caught my attention at the beginning, and I guess would be that things are different, is right now at the very end, we have kind of directors matters, kind of catch all. In the bylaws, directors matters is something kind of at the beginning of all the disclosures and stuff like that. And at the end is where you have reports, and I think that's one thing we're kind of missing right now. So I said item 7 would be reports of the district manager, committees, consultants, capital and construction projects. And then the two things that are basically the meat of everything is the unfinished, slash old business. And that's the things that would require a formal vote. And those are the things, by definition, it's unfinished. It means you've discussed it before, like in the previous meeting or something like that, under new business, which is item number 9. Item number 9 is new business. That's when you're discussing things for the first time and talking it all out. And after you've talked it all out, then a following meeting, that new business now becomes old business. And an old business can be then voted on. It's also pretty much the same format as Robert's rules, or ordinary organizations. It's nothing particularly unique.
Okay, do we have a second? I second. Discussion.
I have a question. Based on me being so new to this. Can we go into an executive session anytime we choose during a meeting if something sensitive comes up?
No,
So
you have to wait. You have to wait for
You
the,
have to wait to the end.
it always waits till the end.
Well,
Okay.
that's not a legal requirement, just to clarify.
That's technical. Whatever.
That is,
You just
I
have
think
to know.
that that's a pragmatic requirement.
handed them the Cockrell executive session form. So technically, I guess we can go in it if it's required, if we want to at any time. We
Sure.
keep it, you can look that over.
But since we have to change the meeting sphere, we just keep it at the end.
Okay,
No, so I'm afraid that your editorial comments and your further explanation is exactly what I was afraid you were doing after you said before, let's change the titles of things and let's just conform to the bylaws. Because what this is another attempt to say we won't vote until we have a first and second reading. We have unfinished business, we'll announce it, we'll discuss it. So right now, the thing is today's agenda, for example, it goes through, the only thing different between and what we did talk about like last time was just we could call unfinished business director's matters. That was about where we're at, except that we do today in the last couple months, Mr. Tice has joined us and he does like to give his manager's report first. So before the financial matters, we could move that down so that it goes through, it could be included in the unfinished business or the reports of officers. But otherwise, that's the only thing that is different in my way of thinking. The additions to what you're saying is that we couldn't ever vote on anything unless it came up under that old business and it had been discussed under new business the previous month. And we have a lot of things that kind of come up as they go. So I objected to that then, and I'm gonna object to it now. If it's just a matter of when we can vote on things, for example, customer billing that just came up, I think that was okay to come up at when it did, and I don't see the need to change anything to restrict when we are allowed to vote.
Here's two things. Number one, has everybody got a copy of the bylaws? You just kind of see what the approach is supposed to be in there. And then to speak to your issue, if we go to the next page on the bylaws, it would be okay, item C, item D, agenda compilation. D4 says any matter resulting in a change in policy must be on the original agenda as posted with 24 hours notice. Late additions to the agenda made during the meeting may be discussed with a formal vote on the policy to be taken take place no sooner than the next board meeting. So in essence, that's kind of the old can't be voting on it right away.
So it sounds like it's in between both of you. It's anything new added during the meeting. We wouldn't be allowed to vote on it during this meeting.
The proposal or the way
Because
it's
with the
written?
way it's written in the bylaws.
Well, it depends on what you're saying is like, what I'm seeing in this proposal is voting versus the policy restriction in that. So we didn't set a new policy for this customer billing. We said, we're gonna look at this issue and this was kind of a one-off, we couldn't figure it out and we discussed it and we voted on it. So, and then I said, let's do some research. If it's gonna be a policy, let's figure it out. And that's pretty standard.
Right.
When we ask and have questions about, well, can we get this Ravine Bridge sign going? Let's have a vote on that. Or how about the something, I mean, a lot of that stuff
It's
isn't,
not policy.
it's not. We do have a lot of that business that comes up.
Well,
and
I'm comfortable with that, are you?
How so? To keep
How-
it the way it
Yeah,
is
to
now.
keep it the way it is.
As an accountant, my whole life is spent keeping things in order. And I love things that are in order. And to me, regardless of whether this follows the bylaws or not, from a consistency state and from a readability and going through it, from my standpoint, I'd rather keep it the way it is, even though it does not, because consistency to me is more important. As long as we're generally complying with that, I would rather have a consistent reporting system than a new improved one. Because I just think continuity and flow is very important.
But I don't see any substantial change. It almost seems to me it's a matter of labeling. It looks almost identical to what we've had. It's the titles or the labels are now in line with the bylaws. Am I seeing this correctly or?
No, you're right. It's practically identical.
Yeah.
I guess the only, I guess the comment was I was adding the editorials about the formal votes and stuff like that. The exact language from the bylaws is that item number 8 is unfinished business. Item number 9 is new business. And so, the titles are the same. I just elaborated, and I suppose we could always take out my elaborations, but
Without the elaborations, with the restrictions on voting times, what would be the point?
well, and then that's why I was reading you the language about the voting. That's in a separate place. And that's why I was incorporating the language from that other part that says, you do need to be, you're not supposed to be voting on things, and you're not supposed to be changing policy all in one meeting. It says that in a different place. And so I was incorporating that into the agenda, so it all made sense. You want to read the bylaws?
No.
Okay. Well, anyway, obviously we can vote any way we want, and I guess I'd have to ask Dylan. I'd be inclined to think, obviously you can take out my editorials, but if we use the exact language that's in the bylaws, I would kind of think that that's legally binding. To sit there and say we don't want to follow the procedure in the bylaws, I'm not sure. Put this on rather shaky grounds.
Well, I would disagree with you there because because you were just saying it's a matter of labeling or it's a matter of where it is within the report. I think we have the exact same thing, just in a different format. And to me, from a consistency standpoint, consistency, like I said, I just love consistency. If I go back and search through records, I don't care if it's for a year or 20 years, I'd rather see the same thing so that I know exactly what I'm looking at rather than having to, here I was down in number 9 and now all of a sudden I'm at 2 and I got to switch to this and I got to switch. That's just me. But that's, like I said, the accountant in me likes continuity and flow, my opinion.
Well, the other thing is other people that are going to be reading into this, most people are used to the Roberts rules. And so the idea of reports come first, old business, new business, that's a standard universal format of meetings are run. And for us not to even have new business, instead everything's a director's matters, that's really confusing to the rest of the world. And now whether it's being consistent here, well, certainly not consistent to me, because it's certainly not consistent the way the rest of the world works. And so I'm not sure why we would want to keep on doing it other than we did it for the last year or two. And I'm not even sure why we somehow got off. I have a hard time imagining how things ever got from old new business to director's matters. Maybe something weird happened that year. I don't know. But
I sit on a couple other boards and I got to tell you, I don't know that any of them follow a similar format. Not to be, I'm just telling you.
They don't follow old business, new business.
No.
I have to say the same, old business is just, I mean, you have titles for it, because you know what you're talking about. This is a generic catch-all for old stuff and new stuff, but if,
Right.
and this is just, it's split out a little bit more now, the way we do it with the board. I mean, you put the manager report in here and like this committee, I mean, I don't know. Dylan, you were asked a question. Are you waiting to break in here?
Yeah, I suppose so. I have two comments on the legally enforceable or legal trouble question aspect of that question. It's sort of like what I say about a lot of things. It's not really a legal question. You have bylaws. They are guidelines for the conduct of the board. Your bylaws include guidelines for how the agenda should be structured. It says, as far as practicable, really the only way it would become a legal issue is if someone sues the board for violating their own bylaws by structuring their agenda, your agenda, contrary to your bylaws. And I don't think that that's a cognizable claim by anyone because no one's really being harmed by it. So I don't have any issue with keeping the agenda as it is or changing it. And my second comment is, as far as the understanding of new business, I think, well, back up a little bit. None of the districts that I represent have consistent agendas among them. You know, this is, you have your agenda, other districts, we deal with finances, we deal with the operations, and we deal with the concerns that customers have brought. So the usual things get talked about, but the structure of the agenda is different for every board. I don't have any district that actually follows Robert's Rules of Order by formal adoption, thank goodness.
I agree.
Well,
Yeah.
That being said, you know, we have agenda item 12, which is new business notification. So I guess you would make the assumption everything else is old business as we're going through. So this is it's to me, it's semantics. I'm almost leery of, kind of like leery of to what Director Hooks is saying. We have a flow that's worked. I'm all about, what's the word I'm always looking for, Jeff, when we're
Continuous improvement.
thank you, continuous improvement, and you do that based on a need, you know, like, do we have a need for this? And I don't see a need. I think I can appreciate the, you know, trying to make sure we're straight, but I don't see the need, so myself.
I do like the idea of being in closer alignment with the bylaws, even if it's just titles and things like that. Just my feeling.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
We have 2 ayes, all against, say nay.
Nay.
We have 3 nays, so Roger Wendell and Dave Wickman were ayes. Director Morgan, Director Hooks, and Director Baker were nays. The motion falls, does not pass. Okay, now we're going to move on to agenda item C.
Can I ask before we move on, what it is that you thought was not aligning then?
I just like the idea that the verbiage is the same titles.
Okay.
It aligns almost perfectly with the bylaws. I like that kind of consistency as well.
Just a side note, my father-in-law was a Civil War historian and he passed away, so I have 4,000 Civil War books that relates to Robert's Rules, so if anybody needs a book. They're all in my basement, 4,000 Civil
It's like
War.
going to the Vatican and never coming out.
I look at it, I'm like, holy mackerel, that's a lot of books.
Tom Hanks is down
You're
there.
never coming out of that basement. It's not like a trash. Did that answer? Did you guys, are we good there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm fine.
All right, so we have 9C, vote on using Community Resource Services of Colorado for the 2023 election. We put that on the agenda
Well, I had to put it on because of,
because we need to.
because we don't have to vote tonight, but we have to get ready for the budget.
Okay.
I should have paused.
I would I would make a motion that we go ahead and hire. That was our last remaining party, correct?
Yes, that's what we use. We've been using them for quite some time in election.
That's Sue Blair.
Yes, Sue Barrett.
There, did you just make a legal
Yeah,
motion?
I would make a legal motion that we continue using them.
I would second that motion. We had discussion over using Sue Blair. No discussion, call the vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all against, nay. We have 0 nays. The motion passes. Do we need to sign anything on that?
Not yet. Well, we'll get going on it.
All right, and then we have the director's matter 9D. And so Dylan, I had talked to you. I'm a little leery about any PowerPoints or anything going out on formally any direction on this whole federal center GSA. I think I, as a director, want to see more information. And this PowerPoint didn't come out to us. Were you anyone aware of a PowerPoint?
I am not.
So I don't like presenting something for public consumption before the directors have had a chance to look at it. So I'm going to ask the board, if you guys want to see, do you want this PowerPoint out there tonight?
I do not.
Is there a PowerPoint? Is that how this is prepared?
It says presentation. It says Federal Center Station Development GSA presentation and legal and merit, legal and presentation, legal and merit. So I don't know if there's some sort of.
Yeah, probably just one document. Is this one document, right, Terry? Terry, you're still there? Terry,
Yeah, I got it.
Terry just sent out just a one-page document. But one quick note, we were talking directly with a GSA person in Texas, and everything, there's nothing set in stone on this. So everything's up in the air. So all the past agreements and everything, nothing is set.
Well, did they
Yeah,
not say that they were not going to honor the previous agreement?
The preliminary research on the phone from the GSA spokesman out of Texas, so they're pretty sure they were not going to honor the agreements that were made years ago. And so we have calls into a lawyer here at the Federal Center, and he'll say to get back with us on those agreements after he does a research.
Okay.
So I'm a little, just because of my scar tissue from so many other meetings, I'm always leery about presenting something because it seems like anything we say or whatever, probably rightfully so in a public forum becomes the written truth or something. And without the board having a chance to see documents before we publicize them, I myself am not in favor of that. I think the board needs an opportunity to look at whatever's going to be presented to the public before it's presented. You guys are all benefit of this, so.
I think that's fine. In part, the auction isn't scheduled to occur until tomorrow. So the October meeting is there's going to be more valuable information by then anyway. Terry did circulate a one-page summary of the infrastructure in the area, and that was my understanding what the presentation was going to be.
Yeah, that was just
So are the potential purchasers aware of the underlying issues? I mean, are they legally aware of, what was there? And I don't know if the government has to disclose like other people do, but are they?
The
Okay.
auction the auction website includes links to the underlying agreements and some of the exhibits. I think they were working with Jeff to put together the rest of those exhibits that they didn't have for whatever reason. So there is a due diligence process on the part of the potential auction bidders.
For the public on Zoom and in the room, this board and our legal and manager, we have been really deeply going into this for several weeks now. So this isn't like we're just now becoming cognizant of this. We're very aware of it. I think there's I think it's a very fluid situation right now, and I don't like to. My lessons from the past is be careful what you put public until something becomes more concrete, so.
Well, let me clarify. When I saw a presentation on there, my assumption is that somebody was gonna come to us and make a presentation to us. But now we're talking about somehow Beer putting a presentation out to the world, and therefore that kind of puts our cliche on it or something like that.
So-
I'm just confused.
So I think that is, Terry was gonna put out an infrastructure single page document, right?
Correct.
And
Now, what does put it out mean?
he was gonna
Provide it
present
to
it
us.
tonight, which we was circulated, so.
And we would circulate it among us or to the world or?
Well, it would come out, we would see it tonight, or he would talk the document tonight,
Oh, that would be the presentation.
yes. And I'm not, my understanding of this, it's very, very fluid, and I think we need to do a lot more research and see what happens before we talk about anything. I think we just have to be very neutral and innocuous right now, for lack of a better word. I don't think we have enough information, and I think when people start presenting or even talking about it, you start owning it somehow.
Okay.
That's my old school belief.
Mhm.
Less is better until you know.
Sure. And I was simply requested to give some brief background information. So I did prepare that, but I understand completely, the board's desire to hold that.
Yeah, I would, Terry, if it's okay with the board, I would like to hold on to that till we see what happens here.
Yes.
'Cause I don't want us to be the ones triggering something, right?
So we can just table the presentation until next meeting.
Yes.
Sounds reasonable.
Is that okay with the rest of the board?
Yes.
Okay, so the rest of the board's nodding their heads and saying yes. So Terry, if that's okay, and Dylan, we would like to table this as old business. Sorry, Dave.
Of course, again, we were just preparing something as requested, and certainly at any time the board, it makes perfect sense to me to review those facts and be sure what you want to discuss in public meeting.
Well, like I said, I think if we present something, then it becomes, somebody could have an opinion, and then it becomes a direction. And I know that sounds crazy had I not experienced it firsthand, so.
Yeah, and I'm not arguing the point. I'm just trying to visualize in other circumstances. If somebody comes, like from the audience or whatever, and gives a presentation, I suppose we might include some of that in the minutes. But that does that necessarily mean we've somehow given it our good seal of approval? Or because I'm seeing the minutes of just saying what happened, doesn't mean it's a good thing or bad thing. So like if we had got that presentation today, would our minutes just say that we got the presentation?
So I think maybe the safe thing to say is we have Terry, maybe you could give a super high level thing, like how many acres, what's at stake here, specifically the physical location of this.
I think, and Mr. Tice did send out an email with that
Yeah.
information, so we do have some of that, maybe he can go over that.
Well, that's what I think he wanted to present, but I'm being hyper paranoid just because,
As consequences and circumstances.
Yeah.
I understand.
I just.
Yeah, we don't need the presentation tonight, that's at all. So, yeah. So again, no
Well,
problem.
I just think for public, understand the board is, and the legal and the manager and our engineering, we are deeply embedded in this as much as we can be, trying to understand what is going on and how it's going to go. So it's not like we are definitely trying to get spun up on this quick. So I think the public needs to understand that. But what it is and what it will be, or if anything, is TBD.
So are you asking for that to be circulated Then no.
I'm just putting it out there in the minutes right now, that yes, we're aware of it. But, you know, I am just, I think until we learn more, like Dylan had said, or Terry, I don't know who it was, the auction, it was delayed for 2 days. So tomorrow it goes up for auction. This is the property at the Federal Center, 67 or 69 acres.
59.
59, I'm sorry, thanks.
All right.
So there's a parcel of land in there, you know, there is a potential, and I don't even know that, so I don't want to start saying what it is. I just know the land's up for sale. So that's where I'm gonna leave it.
Enough said.
Yeah. So, okay. So we'll put that for next board meeting, please.
Under old business. Okay.
Yeah, under old business. All right, who had lobbyist under directors matters?
I just carried it over just in case.
Old business? Okay. So we had 2 lobbyist things. So we got lobbyist and letter for lobbyist support. Director Morgan, can you update us on anything with the lobbyist?
No, I didn't add anything here, but I could have said, I should have probably checked to see if you added those just to carry them over. But I think we cleared that out. So it's, you know, we voted on the lobbyist, which can be taken off. So don't need to carry that over.
I'll take that.
Same thing for the letter. I mean, we did vote on it. It was done. Dylan and was going to work on it, and he did send one out. But since it's on the agenda, and I've got the opportunity to say, since that was circulated, do we have any thoughts on the letter? Because it is, I see two competing aims that we voted to kind of start this coalition and see if anybody wanted to contribute to the lobbyist. He has not sent a contract yet, so we do not have a lobbyist yet.
So yeah, and we have a metro district behind us, so you guys know we had voted to approve. We're hiring our own lobbyist to represent us, but we are going to be looking for cost sharing or other people that may want to take part in that, to where we keep our ears, somebody down at the state listening and watching. And also with, you know, possibly extending things into Lakewood City Council, et cetera. We need to have somebody watching all the political drumbeats in the different chambers of government. And so we're just not being reactive, we can be proactive, hopefully. So if that's something you guys, if you're interested in and you would like to stay abreast, we will be looking for people to kind of join a coalition. Is that a way to put that, Director Morgan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and I think that was what we'd authorized to put in the letter. I think that is what the letter says.
Especially with the joining metro and water and sanitation districts, you know, we're all connected here, so all this stuff, what affects us affects you, et cetera. So
On the other hand, it is waving a red flag at the SBA.
And just as a point of administration, I did circulate that letter. I got comments from Director Morgan and Director Wickman, and I don't know if those comments were circulated to the rest of the directors or not, but it was my understanding that I was to draft the letter and Jeff Tyus was to circulate it to a set of persons representative of districts, that it wasn't to come from my office. Is that correct?
That was my understanding too. I was just talking since it was on the agenda again. So
Okay.
that was what I think we voted on, but it has, so it has been sent out. There's nothing to talk about, and so done. Okay. Thank you very much.
Wait, it has been sent out?
No, the letter has not been circulated yet amongst other districts. So I could have it circulated. to other districts.
Okay.
You want to
Then
go through US mail or email or both?
I don't care.
okay, 9G, which is the Denver Water Committee update.
I still do not have a update. Well, my update is that they are putting together a final report. Not a final report, but a report to give us, and they have been working on that, so.
Okay, so that's our two committee. We have two individuals out in the public that are working the Denver Water, some updates on specific water issues. And Director Morgan and myself will be attending the Denver Water breakfast on the 20th of September.
Yes,
So,
RSVP for that, I went through.
so we will update if there's anything significant coming out of that.
I have a quick note too. We just found out today doing calculations that, we have 6 10-inch meters that meter water from Denver Water. And they're turbine meters. That means they have a thing that looks like a turbine where the water spins it. And it appears that they're reading, based on our calculations, 5% lower than what we're seeing in the customer's water supply. So we notified Denver Water today. In case we have to work with them on calibrating those turbine meters. So, Director Baker probably knows better than anybody, meters can slow down with minimal deposits on a turbine. They never speed up, but they can slow down. So our job is to notify Denver Water saying, hey, you see a 5% differential.
So we had those kind of things at my former employer. And we had
So
to be able-
so that's gonna increase our cost by roughly.
Well, you don't
5%.
know. The thing is you should have a minimum of an annual certification of those type of meters because there's often, that's substantial, right? It affects a lot of people. So it's a state regulatory, it should be something they are doing annually. It should be certified and validated. So.
Yeah, they have a calibration process to certify. It's around $300,000.
Wow.
Lower, yeah, so we owe them $300,000. Yeah,
So for clarification, there are 5 of these 10-inch meters,
6.
6, and that's the entire supply from Denver?
Yes, correct.
50,000 each to certify them. Wow.
That seems steep.
Well, no, that's the 5% of water they're missing.
Okay.
Sorry, we should clarify. So based on the total volume of water per year we receive from Denver, 5% of that would equal 300,000.
That's
So,
right.
so what are they basing? What study did they? I guess
It
I'd like to
came
see
from
a
us.
copy. Okay.
It came from us. So
Okay.
So accounting looked at the total water to our customers and the total water come from Denver. There was a 5% differential.
Would they charge us in arrears for something like this?
I don't.
Sam's saying no.
Okay. I don't think so. But see what they say.
It'd be hard to calculate.
Well, it's hard to validate something like that when you didn't validate it in the past. How can you?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, you got to prove something all the time. So,
Plus, we pointed it out to them.
yeah. Okay. All right, we'll close out that and then we'll move into H, which is discussion and possible vote on the Colorado Family Medical Leave Insurance, FAMLI. And these were the documents sent out last month. So any discussion or does anyone wish to vote on that tonight?
Well, do we have to comply because of number of employees?
Yeah, well, maybe because we're, an SDA, Dylan could probably talk about it better than I can. So we just have to vote before January 1st or January 3rd, right, Dylan?
Yep, so it is, for local government employers, it is not a number of employees matter. It is that of all employers located in the state of Colorado, local governments are eligible to opt out entirely, independent of number of employees.
And if we opt out, what are the consequences?
There are 2 levels of opting out because there are 2 components to the payment process or the payroll withholdings process. There's the employer portion, which is the slightly less than 0.5%. And then there's the employee portion, which is slightly less than 0.5%, it's 0.45%. So you can opt out of withholding the employer portion or paying the employer portion, or you can opt out of withholding the employee portion, or you can opt in. So there are 2 consequences. If you opt out, you save some in the budget. You're not bearing the additional payroll expenses. And the downside, your employees are not eligible for an additional benefit, essentially, provided by the state, paid for by you.
Would you mind summarizing what the additional benefit is for the employee? And
Yep.
how does this differ from FMLA?
Yes.
Federal, yeah.
So FMLA is 12 weeks of unpaid leave for a restricted class of leave, family, medical related issues. The Family FAMLI Act leave is 12 weeks of paid leave for a less restrictive, but similarly restricted class of leave. So if a family member is sick, or if you are taking care of a family member, or if you yourself are sick, the usual shorthand for it is maternity or paternity leave. It's paid at, I believe, 60% of your wages through the state, through a program to be administered by the state, which is analogous to the unemployment system.
I can tell you my initial thought. Maybe not a bad thing to actually have the employees vote on. I mean,
Yeah,
the
that's
cost
interesting.
probably isn't that great, but it would be costing them money as well. And
Well,
so if they wanted to,
We did.
but I assume you either opt in as an entire group.
Well, there's like 4 options, it sounded like.
We
Yes.
did that. 40% of employees want to opt in, 40% didn't want to do it, and 20% didn't care.
Well, that doesn't give us a.
So that's
Just
a
call
middle
for
ground.
breakdown.
Yeah, that's what we're all neutral.
That's right.
But my thinking, because to me, I mean, yeah, we would pay some for that. They would pay some for that. And so I think we need a more definitive vote, yes or no, not a I don't care. I think it would have to be a yes or
There's an
no.
additional thing, because I had to, when you are dealing with FMLA and that kind of stuff, so how does Jeff manage his district if you have like?
Someone gone for 3 months?
Well, you could have a wave of things happen, and then yeah, it may cover the employee's salary for being gone, but then he's left with a big hole for 3 months that
Right.
he's not funded to back that up. And, you have to watch those kind of things, at least how your critical levels of running a business.
Well, see, because I think, well, typically, I mean, it was almost always exclusive to women.
Oh,
Well, I said it used to be,
well,
not anymore.
yeah, I dealt with having people deployed, and then, I had like 4 of my, employees down at once under that type of thing. And it's like, yeah, they're like, well, you're just have to adjust your workload. It's like, make other people work harder. That's what because I couldn't backfill. I wasn't.
They wouldn't provide you additional.
That's what that insurance doesn't cover. It covers the employee on their wages, but it doesn't cover the manager, the backfill cost of that person that's gone for 3 months.
Right.
And keep in mind, the employee can always do it on their own also.
Yeah, well, you can do that in that way.
Well, if the employer opts out entirely, an employee can still opt into the program and do their own withholdings.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, then, well,
Yes, it's almost, yeah.
I don't know, that's not necessarily a bad option then, under the circumstances, if they want that option. I guess it's like an additional, it's funny, so like we just went through our open enrollment at my work, and we, there's like the medical, the dental, the health, or vision. So medical, dental, health, and vision, those are like our 4 main things. Then we have literally like all these supplemental, goodness gracious anymore. We probably have 15 to 30 supplemental other things you can opt into. And I don't know if like this would be the similar.
It is, but then, like I said, the component you need to ask our manager is he okay with that? There's our side, there's the employee side, but then the manager who's stuck, is in the middle of all this. We need to get his opinion on.
Well, I thought Dylan said they could opt in by themselves anyway.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one of the options.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's not up to us. We don't get that. option.
But I'd still be curious with what Mr. Tyus thinks, or would you be in favor of it, or you don't?
Well,
have
that's
to?
why I took the survey. I took an employee survey. That's why I did that, is to see what percentage of employees would be interested in, well, like I said, only 40% of employees would be interested in. Some of those employees said, well, you know, due to my circumstances, I still might have to do it myself if we opt out, you know, but that was only really a very small amount of employees, not very many employees at all. So jeopardizing the operation, since we, you know, we have to keep track of the system 24/7, like Director Baker said, I think, you know, opting out is not a big deal, because the people that need it could always opt in, and if they do have to take care of their loved ones, it wouldn't hurt us. We still have enough coverage.
Right. Well, then I would, can we make a motion?
Yeah, you can make a motion anytime.
I would like to make a motion then that we opt out of the FAMLI and just let it be an option to the employee to opt in.
I'd second that.
So we have a second, we have discussion. No discussion, call the vote, all in favor of the opting out of the FAMLI. Did I say that right? Yes.
Yeah.
Say aye.
Aye.
So we had 5 ayes, 0 nays. The motion to opt out passes.
And Dylan provided us with a really good document that's already been sent out to all employees, that what explains if they're opt out, that they have a choice still to opt in on the right. So everything's covered.
Okay.
So this is also, this decision has to be documented in writing by resolution, and I have prepared a resolution for that. But what I can do is just finalize it with that decision, and we can formalize it at the October meeting and submit that in writing to the state.
You just need a signature then at the next meeting. Is that
Yep.
formalized? Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, so Dylan, we're gonna jump into the Fossil Ridge IGA, and we have 2 directors from the Fossil Ridge Metro District with us tonight. So I don't know, who put this on there? I think I said we need a placeholder for this. Do you wanna start talking about it, or?
I can start talking about it. I will discuss it in general terms. At the last meeting, you asked me to put together a memorandum on the options the district has for responding to this. I have done the prep work for that. I have not finalized the memo, so I can circulate that once it's finished. But in general terms, the 15-year reservation of capacity portion of the agreement is coming up in January of next year, January 15th. A little bit of background on the agreement. It was originally executed in 2008, and then it was amended and restated in 2014, and that did not change any of the deadlines or the numbers really. Subsequent to that, there was also some litigation involving Fossil Ridge, which you probably are better acquainted with than I am, resulting in some declaratory judgment court orders that didn't really affect the 15-year capacity reservation issue that's at hand here. It did affect some of the money changing hands aspects of it. So in broad brushstroke terms, the agreement called for 1,727 EQRs to be reserved for service from Fossil Ridge through Green Mountain to Metro Waste. Last I checked, and I think it's been increased by 26 as of the most recent board packet, but last I checked, there were 1,269 EQRs presently served in Fossil Ridge under this IGA through Green Mountain into Metro Waste, leaving 458 unserved EQRs, which are reserved capacity, but not served. And those are, like I said, not 100% numbers. Again, in broad brushstroke terms, the options the board has under the IGA are pretty broad. The specific language from the IGA is, I'll read it to you. The parties may agree in writing to extend the period of time such capacity will be reserved by additional 5-year periods. So there's a couple things in there. You may agree, they may agree, you may not agree, they may not agree. Whatever you do, it has to be in writing. You can extend the period of time by 5-year terms, and unstated in that, but I think probably true, is that other than the 5-year term, the terms underlying that can be modified as well. So you are serving about 1,250, so 1,269 EQRs. That's probably not changing. You could agree to just extend this agreement by a 5-year term. Nothing changes. You keep the 458 capacity reserved. No money changes hands. Nothing at all happens. You just sign a simple agreement that says we're extending it on the same terms for 5 years. We'll revisit it in 2028. At the other end of it, you could decline entirely to extend the term. No, we're not reserving this capacity any longer. The 458 EQRs are just going to go back into the ether essentially, or variations on that continuum.
So Dylan, could you send out those 2 variations to the directors if you have any red lines or anything, because we'd like to be able to, start presenting something to you guys. We don't want to wait till the last minute and, start working this now. So
yeah, I will, as part of my memorandum, I will flesh out those options and provide some more of the intermediate options in there, as well as some assessment of what I consider your risks and the benefits to the district of the various options.
sound good to the directors.
Right. And Fossil Ridge does not go into any of the Red Rocks Ranch, does it? Or does it?
No.
Okay,
They're basically the Solterra area,
that's what I was just making sure.
and they don't have any extensions. They're not in the Red Rocks Ranch or Big Sky or anywhere
I'm
else.
just trying to make sure my ducks are in a
Well,
row.
I'm just, as much as I can understand it, I'm trying to clarify it, so.
Well, that's a good question, and I remember I asked this before and I got an answer, but just to confirm it again. Does Fossil Ridge include a property that belongs to Mount Carbon?
Yes.
Yes.
Would that have any impact on our?
Well, that's the little postage stamps, and Dylan, maybe, because we've done this before, you've got all these like little footprints, like on the Vandermeer property, you've got, somebody from Evergreen's got a footprint right on the Vandermeer thing.
Right, and then we have Consolidated Mutual has some.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Consolidated, well, there's a number of things there. Consolidated Mutual provides the water to this under this IGA. It's a separate agreement. This is Green Mountain provides sanitary sewer transmission services for Fossil Ridge under this agreement. Water is totally separate. There are 2 service areas identified in the IGA. There's the service area, and then there's the future development area, which are described in exhibits in the IGA. And strictly speaking, none of them are included in Mount Carbon. They're only, any given parcel is only part of one metropolitan district at a time.
Just to clarify, just so you see the smoothness of the actual wastewater collection system on this map, it's very smoothly connected. It's just, this is Fossil Ridge, so it's connected directly into the system and flows well off the discharge. So
It's the Yale Avenue.
yeah, so it is close to this, and it ties in well, so it's not an issue with it.
Right.
All right, are there any further questions?
Terry Larson with Fossil Ridge. Couple comments. First of all, the 1,269 EQRs that are currently listed, they still have to build out townhomes filing 18, 19, 20, and 21. So that number is going to grow to 1,450 or something like that. So there is more to grow, more units to fill in there on the EQR basis.
I thought Terry Canyon said Solterra 21 is closing out. You're saying there's 2 other filings in there?
No, there's a filing 18, 19, 20, and 21. And those have not been added into that number yet, I don't believe. So those filings then are 114 units or something like that. And so if you add that on to 1269, that would be pretty close.
So could you guys do us a favor?
I can give you that
Could you
number.
send that to Dylan Woods? He's with or Dylan, you could reach out. So we need to have those documents. So we need it all up packaged to understand what's going on.
I can send you what we project will ultimately be.
Or yeah, send it to Jeff Tyus.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be most convenient.
Okay, so
And
that's,
keep in mind, Dylan read 1,727 units on the IGA. He read that in 1,727.
and so that number will grow. The other comment was, we appreciated the idea of a simple agreement.
Yeah.
We were kind of wondering what the process might be given the time frame we've got. The other concern we had is 5-year terms. Seemed like those were kind of restrictive, and do we want to revisit this every 5 years, or is there a longer period of time that could be considered?
Well, I think, and I can't speak for the whole board, I think, our concerns over on this side is around our capacities and what's happening. If we're talking about a static IGA, going forward, I mean, I could see that probably maybe going beyond the 5-year thing.
Okay.
And we're looking for static, okay? So there's what was agreed to, and we will look at all of that. I can't speak, this is not the board speaking, this is just Jeff Baker, the 1/5 of this group, but I believe we're looking for a static level. We want a smooth, we want this to go smooth, so.
Can Dylan comment on the 5-year?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say that if you mutually agree in writing to some alternative time frame, that would not be a problem. You really, parties to an agreement can do just about anything they want as long as it doesn't harm other third parties. So yeah, if you want to change that, I think the 15-year term and then the 5-year term was really a reflection of, we expect in 2008 to build out this entire 1,700 or so EQRs within this time frame. And then if we are unable to, we'll do so in the next 5 years, or it will become apparent to all of the parties involved that it's not going to happen. I think that's just reading between the lines. I think that's why the original timeline was the way it was.
That's what we probably, yeah, if there's nothing really on the books, like I said, we're very mindful of the capacity issues over here as we're really cinching down on this. And so I think if you're understanding where we're at and going forward, this would probably make this go a lot better. So, if there's stuff everyone's on the hook for that we're all booked and signed for, understood. But if we're talking about some Futurama type thing that, is TBD, we're probably not, going to sign on for future.
Makes sense.
So that's kind of the temperature of the water on this side, although I'm just speaking as 1/5 here, so.
Yeah, we'll have to go through some
Yeah.
of those questions then after we see.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, so, and it's good to have this kind of conversation face to face, so, and we wanted to start this early. We want it to be smooth. I'm sure you want it to be
Yes,
smooth.
absolutely.
Okay.
And
All right.
as part of that, as part of making things smooth, if Fossil Ridge has any specific asks in the next couple of months, I think that it would be beneficial to make those known. It'll make negotiation a lot easier if we have a reasonable picture of where everyone's sitting.
All right, so if everyone's good on the Fossil Ridge IGA, I'm going to move on to item J, which is discussion of future cap fee increases based on Probably the CPI, so.
Did not we ask Mr. Gessler to join us for that fossil ridge? Was that for the big sky?
Yes, Big Sky, it's Gessler would be involved with the fossil ridge.
Okay.
That's,
He's offered to make himself available to me for background information on the Fossil Ridge issue, but I'm not aware of his hands-on participation in any part of it.
Okay.
I think that was if we had any overlap, because I think when you had the Brookfield guy, he was also part of, who's exited their board. We had some, he was also tied in with the Big Sky, and so you had some potential conflicts there. And they said he's off, resigned from the board, so that's kind of streamlining this, so.
I got confused. Thank you.
Okay. Are we good, Dylan? Can I move on to the J?
Yes.
Okay. So we're talking about the future tap fee increases. So, you know, we're talking about doing this quarterly where we evaluate tap fee increases, and Director Morgan and myself, we were in here having some discussions with Jeff. I think last week. I'm losing track of time again. So we need to be ready to have the discussion and the vote on the tap fee increase. We're looking at doing this quarterly. That's what the cadence is. So we're up on that now. So we're going to be, the question right now is, what do we base the increase on? What is our gold standard of why we would be increasing or not? And then, so right now, the only thing we talked about that is a known value is around the CPI. We talked with Director Morgan as the concerns that we're talking about these other variables, which kind of created another problem where we had the evaluations of our capital equipment at around 360 million, is that correct? And then Jefferson County came in and
700 million.
valued us at a little bit underneath 700 million. So the problem with why that is a problem for us is we had paid for Reptelis to do a study to build an algorithm that should make this easy, that, you know, X plus Y and blah, blah, blah. We check it quarterly. If it goes up, we raise tap fees. Well, it's that has now skewed our algorithm because we're double, a little bit less than double of what we were on the capital. So that would mess up the algorithm. I'm gonna let you talk now because this is your world.
Yes, I'm tired of talking about it. Sorry. I think that assessors, I think that comes back to how you're calculating, what you're calculating. We cannot calculate the cost of this building and our land into a tap fee. So all of that assessors thing is that, so, and Terry did separate those out, and that also separates out the infrastructure replacement versus the capital improvement, which we still don't have. I don't know that how is that going? How is the committee doing on that part?
Well, the infrastructure replacement spreadsheet, I sent it out last month, so we'll keep building on that spreadsheet.
Well, and so we're gonna get with, we're gonna sit down over this FICA plan. So we did, we have a FICA plan.
Yeah.
And what that's gonna do is we will rack and stack that, and there'll be like an algorithm of, you know, what prioritizes what, which will bubble up to the top of our capital replacement repairs, right?
Yeah, but I'm still concerned that it is, that we're not doing the capacity-based measurements because only the capacity growth goes into the tap fee development. So that's.
Well,
See, where I struggle with that, I struggle with that.
Yeah.
Costs are skyrocketing. And we're doing everything way after the fact. And so people are getting heavily discounted things from us.
We are 20 years behind the ball because we have not.
I'm just,
acknowledged
but
this
the problem that
capacity.
I have with that is, and I guess, you know, Dylan, from a legality standpoint, again, running from a financial standpoint, I don't want us to be eating money because of poor formulas and backdating everything. I mean, to me, it's like when I'm running our business, I need to know what's coming up, not what's the past. Past is easy to see.
I agree.
The future is what really costs money, not the past.
So
Go ahead.
the system development fees that the algorithm is intended to determine in the board's discretion, that is a category of fee that is pretty heavily statutorily restricted. Realistically, the increased costs of materials, labor, whatever day-to-day inflationary costs that you're anticipating for the coming year should be taken into account in determining the use rates, the regular rates and fees, not the system development fees, which is a much more restrictive category.
Well, whoever came up with that sucks. Literally.
That's why
At
you're
a time
hiring a
of high
lobbyist.
inflation, at a time in high inflation, that's not even close to realistic.
Well, so if you just want to melt it down to that, if we're talking about capacity and you're down to 5% or 0, what's the value of that 5%? It's quite a bit.
But you can't charge based on scarcity. You charge based on how much of their placement costs and everything. So that's why it goes into the calculation. And there's a method to do that. We just need to transition. And it may just be that we're at a point where we need to hire somebody who knows how to put together a capacity upgrade and get us onto this incremental system. We are now in about the cheapest model that you can. We say, we have all the capacity you want, we'll just give you some, this buying method. That's what Terry did, and that's what Raftellus did, because that's what they were told we should do, they should do.
Well, that wasn't where I wanted that to go.
That's right, but we
So-
have no other data to give them, so we need this capacity thing to give them the update, to get into that incremental model. There's no other legal way to do it.
Okay, so I'm sensing emotion.
Can I add to that too, is just to back up Director Morgan, is I have emails into Raftellus in Jefferson County, because if you think about it, if Raftellus is only using $150 million and Jefferson County values us at 649 million, say 650 million, that's a huge, this building's not worth $300 million. You see the logic, meaning there's a huge discrepancy in Raftellus's calculation and the county assessor calculation. So we got to get the numbers from the county assessor to figure out how they're valuing us specifically, so we use those numbers in the actual legal calculation that Raftellus does. So
what was that number that you said from Jefferson County?
649 million and something, 649 million, almost 650 million from Jefferson County.
So that's the certification of valuation by Jefferson County assessor, right? That you got August 25th. That is the assessed value of all of the property that is included in the district. That is not the capital value.
Stop there for a minute, because if you look on the second page, I sent this out, there's also an assessed value of all the property at $7 billion. I sent this all out. So it says our valuation, Green Mountain, and I'm not an expert at this type of thing, is 650 million, and the total property value is 7 billion on the second page. Sorry.
Yeah, but this is not district property. This is the property that's included in the district.
That's
Like
the blue line, all up property value, but which is probably more than 7 billion, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Alright.
So we're kind of like running off the rails here. Look,
So
I've already been in this rodeo once. How do we get the right damn, if it's not Raftellus?
I don't want to pay Raftellus again for
Yeah,
another
this is-
report that doesn't get us
Right,
anything.
this is.
And
That was
Raftellus-
50 grand.
Raftellus doesn't do this. I thought maybe we could get there with this committee, but I was gonna, Maybe we can put a placeholder in the next budget to do a study that would be specific, that to find an engineer who would do that and get us on a capacity plan to upgrade our capacity for new growth.
I
And
thought
that's
we
what
were
we-
doing that too. I mean, we've been working with these different groups around
We did,
capacity plans, capacity updates.
so no, we don't have a plan for how to do that. We have the master plans that Terry put together, that Merrick put together. And Merrick identified some places where maybe sort of possibly we could use updates. But those are recommendations or spots to look at is what he would say. Those are spots to look at.
Off the wall question, probably more for Dylan. So, all the time I'm seeing surcharges on everything I'm getting. Gas surcharges, this surcharges, that surcharges. Legally, Dylan, is there any way we can surcharge things and bypass the capacity,
You're thinking like a surcharge for a new house, for a new tap fee.
yes.
Well, it's
I'm just
funny-
saying, if
it's
everyone
funny
else
how-
is bypassing it all, why can't we?
It's funny how your taxes seem to spin out of control and they can justify that on a unicorn's hook. you know,
Right, and yet we're
we can't.
constricted
And
by
we're
all.
constricted by all these ridiculous
Right,
constraints. And so, yes, good point.
You can increase your regular rates and fees with notice and a hearing. The system development fees have to be rationally related to new infrastructure.
So that's the problem, that you're making the existing stakeholders pay for, they bear the bigger brunt, and the people, the new kids on the block come in with discount or free passes.
right.
And I'm not okay with that, and that's really been a heartburn of mine forever.
Well, the way that that's intended to be addressed is that if property is included, well, part of the problem is that you're not a taxing district, that you don't collect property taxes. So you
Their
are,
taxes, their surcharges.
well, under the normal scheme, if you bring in a property is included, they pay an inclusion fee. That inclusion fee represents the approximate value of the taxes that were not paid by that property owner to construct the infrastructure to which that property is now connecting. The system development fees are designed to defray the additional burden of additional infrastructure from developing that property. Since your district doesn't collect property taxes, you don't have that inclusion fee element of this process in play. Instead, you just have system development fees and regular rates for use of the infrastructure.
Could we add an overly high installation fee or an administration fee?
Well, I mean, you do recoup your actual costs associated with it, your engineering and your legal, and you can roll in some of your staff time, and I think you do that already.
You know, I'm in agreement that, you know, it's not, they're obviously being subsidized, all the new development, but do we have a sense of how much more is possible in the future? Are we spending a lot of time on this when there's how much,
The problem is we're at or above capacity.
right?
Denver Water and Metro Waste say, sky's the limit, do whatever you want, it's a free-for-all.
And that's not true.
Lakewood thinks it's a free-for-all, which none of that's true. And, you know, we're a district that is in the black and would like to stay in the black. And you know what, you can just get run down in a blink of an eye with this kind of nonsense. And then you are taking out a bond because now you have to update your infrastructure. I'm sure Jeff's been involved in that in Aurora. I'm sure that ran crazy out there somehow. And people had to take out bond.
See, that's one of the huge benefits at Green Mountain is we are debt free.
That's a kicker right there. That's why we're being.
So because we were prudent, we're now penalized.
Yeah, and that's what I'm, and these tap fees, when you look at, we're still a cheap date. I mean, it's like, who's not gonna do that? And it's gotta be fair. You gotta, people make it sound like, well, you're not being fair to developers. And I'm like, it's about being fair to the stakeholders that have elected us.
Right.
I don't care about future or people that don't exist in this district. I care about the people that are here. They're our responsibility. And going forward, being very sensitive to that, especially where we're at with an aging system and trying to get everything updated and make sure we're doing everything right. We're a decade and a half or two behind the curve, and talking to our accountant here, that's a stupid place to be.
It is.
Because you're playing from behind and you never get to catch up, and then we're constrained like, well, you guys can't do that. It's like, well, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna be that maverick and say, I don't believe that. I'm gonna push the envelope on this any way I can, legally. Sorry, Dylan, legally.
Always add legally at the end.
So,
Well,
yeah,
maybe then it would be a good idea to look at getting somebody to do, sorry, you didn't get an answer to your fees, I don't think, but, oh no, Dylan did say, because we do charge them costs, so we do, that didn't answer your overly large fee, but it would be something to look at to get an engineer to develop a capacity improvement plan to be used for putting us into an incremental or combined method for tap fee development. And that would be, that's the right way to do it, to have legal justification. So for example,
That would bring us up to speed.
that would, it would, yeah, we hope so. Like, for example,
There's two plans to get to that point.
well,
There's two plans to get.
this
to
is
the
like
third plan.
3.0 or something.
we talk at every meeting, I say the same things, we write down, I'm trying to do it this way, I'm trying to do it that way, but here's another way. Let's try and get an engineer to do capacity improvement plan to get us on an incremental or combined method for tap fee development.
Well, who knows what that looks like? I mean, how do you have to be very specific with an engineer, very specific. You
Well,
gotta-
that's why I'm
Statement of work,
using those words. I don't know how.
Statement of work.
See, I would love, like, literally, I mean, this sounds so simplistic, but an Excel spreadsheet, we could pump numbers into and it pumps us out an answer.
Well, that's
Not-
what we were aiming for, but we can't get the stuff to pump into your spreadsheet is where we're dying on that hill, it sounds like.
Yes.
So we have to go find this engineer again to
it's-
build the algorithm, which is the formula.
We probably should do a quick review. So there's a bunch of spreadsheets that were already created to give the Raftels. Remember, Raftels is in Greenwood Village. They're not an engineering company. They're a finance company. They're certified through the Securities Exchange Commission. They obey.
Is
these-
that how we, I mean, I wasn't around.
Yeah.
for-
Yeah,
I know-
I could give you the report. They obey these laws that Dylan are talking about, and there's a specific math formula that they have to use, that Director Morgan's talking about, and Dylan's talking about. They have to use by these laws, and that's how they come up with. So in other words, they take the numbers off the spreadsheets that were generated by an engineering company and then put it in that math formula, and they come up with these numbers. So looking at the data is, we have to make sure the data is correct on the spreadsheets in order to change the legal math formula that's stamped by an approved company like Raftels.
So then my question back, not on the lobbyists or whatever, is, so how difficult it is to ask the state for an amendment for hyperinflation to actually be able to stay somewhat within some kind of a grasp of a realistic number of what's coming up, where saying, they're saying it's at 8.3%, it's probably really at like 30 or 40.
That's where the government, they keep passing, look, they pass spending bills that they don't care about because they're not paying it. All of us are. So they're okay with letting things go unbridled. This is what we're talking about. It's about being responsible for once as government people.
I agree.
We want to be responsible. They want to just levy all this crap on all the taxpayers because, yeah, it's just somebody's going to pay it in the future, right?
There
That's
is-
us.
There is part of that equation that deals with an engineering inflationary amount of money for the cost of materials used to build things, which is,
Yeah, but that's
if we
minuscule compared to what's really going on. Like,
No, it's higher. The cost of material building is between 12 and 16%. So.
okay,
if
what
the
does a
CPI
water
is-
tap actually cost us physically?
Well, we're charging customers $7,103 per.
No,
tap fee.
the physical thing.
Oh, just to go out there and tap a pipe, I don't know.
No. I'm assuming when you say tap, I mean, that we put it in, there's a certain amount of hardware that goes together, right? That goes, taps in the line.
Yeah.
So is it mostly time of the tax, or is it actually, I mean, how much is the physical equipment?
It's not very much at all.
Okay,
So then to me, so if you have something that costs $500 and it goes up 10%, wow, $50.
Exactly.
Woo!
Well, yeah,
I mean, I want like 5,000. I don't want 50.
so with that being said, that's why if you look at the cost of this infrastructure and we divide that by all the constituents, right? That's a stakeholder part, right? You're on the hook for that one way or the other. You got a perplexed look. Is that?
Yeah, everything here. Well, I guess, yeah, I'm so confused. It seems like about a year ago, you guys did this and you raised the tap fee by an inflation factor. That struck me as extremely logical. And I thought what was coming in today, it's like, are we gonna do an inflation factor? That struck me as clean and simple, we're off and running. And now we seem to be somewhere else where so like, I'm just so confused.
So that was the debate last time. I don't think there's anything to go off of because I don't think anybody else is trying to do this. I think there's too many go along to get along people. I'm sorry if I've just stomped on everyone's feet, but that's how I see it.
Yeah.
So, there's an accountability statement here that I think that's crap. And I think we need to be looking at something different, and I'm not okay with the status quo. And so the status quo or not doing status quo was at least looking at CPI or something around that. So does that put us in some level of legal things? Probably. But, could we defend it? I think we can, but getting back to going forward, that was a stopgap thing. Hopefully with Raptellus and all these other studies, we're supposed to catch up and we would have had some smooth line going forward, and it's not. Which is why I've got a lot of heartburn around this now, because.
Well, like I said, what you guys did last time made sense to me. I thought it was good to go. And then we had this company just come in over there on Van Gordon, and they got charged the new fees. They didn't seem to have any problem with it.
No.
Well, it's still dirt cheap.
You meant on exposition, we're still the cheapest.
We're the
very
cheapest
cheap,
around.
Yeah. They're not gonna blink an eye at that. So, my thought is, if it's so simple, what's the cost of all this, right? How much does it divide out? That's a unit, an EQR. There's gotta be some way to make this into a simple mathematical thing. This is the cost of each section. If you're buying a share of stock in here, currently your stock's worth this much. If you're gonna buy into this stock, that's what the current stock value is. Isn't that, am I missing something here?
Well, I guess my thought would be is if it was okay before, which I guess is a big question mark. But if we did it last time and it was okay, then why can't we just update it with inflation factors? And we started with a base and we're just building on a base.
Well, they have kept.
Dylan put a thing in our scopes, that's why.
Well, part of the dilemma is, Dave, they didn't do this I've only been here for a year and a half.
Yeah,
They didn't do this for 20-some years.
Right.
So we're 20 years behind, and now we're in hyperinflation. So we have two kicking the shins, not one, two. And we're way behind the curve.
We have three because the formula we were hoping to have by now is still not in hand. And, I wished I was more educated, smarter than I am, but I know enough to know this is BS and it shouldn't be this hard. I just, for the life of me, it's not this hard. It should be just taking these overlaying maps, figure out what the cost, divided by the current constituents. That is your cost of a share. And that's what would cost you to buy in. I don't know, is it that simple?
Yes, but to see the argument is the Excel spreadsheets that calculated that cost, are they reading too low that we're giving to Raftellus?
Right, that gets back to the thing, crappy information
The
in, crappy
denominator,
information
which
out.
was the value, the total value of the utility.
And where did
There's
the
a lot.
county get their figure?
Yeah,
We
I
don't
got,
know.
I got an email into that. I got an email into Raftellus and I got an email.
There's a
Because that
huge,
would be easy if we could use
there's a
that.
huge discrepancy.
But if we use $650 million,
Yeah.
that would solve this
Well,
problem.
that's a defensible thing, Dylan. That's where I'm going with this, one way or the other.
That's, no, but Dylan already explained that's not what that number meant. Not the
Yeah.
calculation of the.
He
That's-
just said, okay.
Well, what's the $7 billion then?
Yeah, there was property and then there was,
Well, wait, Dylan,
Infrastructure.
don't we pay you to protect us in a lawsuit?
Well, actually, your insurer pays your litigation counsel.
He doesn't represent that.
Isn't that- So I mean, if we get in a little hot water, someone's coming to our defense, right?
By the way,
Yes,
back to that
yes.
question years behind,
Just asking.
didn't we try to catch up with that at one point?
That's the concept of us doing this quarterly, that we are incrementally gonna review this 4 times a year. And then start, getting there. We didn't wanna fire all the guns at once.
Oh, so we haven't done it yet.
We have done it. The problem is, we did raise the tap fees once or twice. We're still struggling to get where we
We're
want. to.
literally between there's some places that are $70,000 for a tap. We're at 7.
Yeah, if you go to the gas station tonight and OPEC's on fire and they jack it up to $7 a gallon, you're paying $7 a gallon tonight, whether you like it or not.
Right.
Here at Green Mountain, nothing seems to matter.
Yeah, it's obvious to me, like, we ought to be going
We're
up.
out of water, we're out of capacity, we're out of everything, but
But can't raise rates.
well, we can't raise rates.
Yeah, but there's a lot of different things going on there. I mean, you're talking about, like, what you're saying is you want to be price gouging here. For
No, I'm not. I'm saying
I
I
don't
want
wanna
it
be
to be, I want it
I want it
to
to
be
be
realistic.
realistic,
Correct.
because we don't have too much stuff. So that's, and that's a little bit different than let's divide it up by, because that's what they did. And that's the buy-in method, and that's the number that Raftellus gave us, and we went beyond that. Now, the 20-year catch-up, we have to remember that the number back 20 years ago, legally justifiable, if we had a study done then, the number would have been $1,000. And we're charging for it. We've been overcharging for a little while, so that's why the numbers came out. So when we do the inflationary index now, we're still above the highest legally justifiable number that
No,
we
so,
came
but
out.
I'll just give you an architectural example from my standpoint.
Okay.
So he wants his building design. Normally, we're gonna take 6 months to do that. To me, a production, we're gonna do a manufacturing facility. I have to have that done in 3 months. So I'm gonna have to not only use all of my project managers, different architects, CAD people, I have to bring in others or pay outside firms to meet this deadline. So what does that do to the price? In that short period, it pumps it way up. Say I have to pay all my people overtime. I've got all this stuff crapped into a short period of time. It greatly increases the cost. It's like inflation.
Yeah.
So we have that going on, except by law, we're handcuffed.
By law, that scarcity model that you're talking about, that's what I'm saying, transitions into this incremental model for tap fee development that is based on your capacity in the pipes, and we need that separate engineering study. Let me just throw this other example out, because I don't know how many people heard when we were talking before. This is state statute right now, how you can calculate these. If this is something to fight about, you could think about changing it, get it, you have a lobbyist now. Think about how to make that happen, and we could push for that. On the flip side, people did, the issue came up, it was a couple years ago now, in North Carolina, and they went back and looked at all of these tap fees and found that districts had been overcharging, and they had to pay money back. They lowered, they put on more regulations that you're talking about, again, going up against the developer, the real estate, all of that industry when you want to change the statutes on this. So, I mean, there's possibilities, but there's caveats too. So just just go out there. So would you like a motion? I was under the impression that this was going to be a motion on the October meeting that we said last time that we were going to notice. We needed 30 days, we had 29 until now, so we were gonna notice to have it on the October meeting.
And he was gonna roll it up when we do all the budgets, so all the notifications and everything happen at the same time, so we're not.
Okay,
Yeah, that's the plan. So when we present the budget, you'll have a span to give all this. By law, we have to do public notification. Just remember this. This is where we have to think about numbers and not let anybody else tell us our own numbers. We have 11,000 taps. If the average price of a home, let's say we were conservative and we have 8,000 homes, 8,000, let's say we sell a home for $400,000. 8,000 times 400,000 is 3.2 billion. I bet you Lutheran Hospital alone is worth $1 billion at least. So
I bet you
so
right
the
now the
correct,
average
the correct
house,
taxable is page 2 at $7 billion.
new houses right now that would be coming out are probably a minimum of 800.
Yeah, so that's where we still have to figure out where the county gets the $649 million no matter what, because of the $7 billion that's in our area. There's $7 billion. The county's saying there's $7 billion worth of homes and real estate in our area. So where do they come up with the $650 million?
Well, they're the assessors, so that's how the tax flow is going, right? That's how they value things.
That is the assessed value, yes. That is
Yeah, so-
multiplied by 6.95%.
Okay, so it's funny how they can come up with that, but we can't get it. Anyway, yeah, how simple was that? And like, yet we're in the outer limits here somehow. And I
Well, and
just
it's funny,
don't
because
see-
it's like the mill levy, if they just hold the mill levy and prices increase by 20%, they get it, but legally we can't.
Exactly.
That doesn't make sense.
No. So,
I agree, you do gotta change the law, but then
That's
you're
why
with
there's a
Director
lobbyist.
Morgan with Karen saying, yeah, so then all the then everyone lobbies against it.
you better have a strong position, is all I'm saying, before you wade into that.
I agree with you, but you know what, it's still, I want to be on the tip of the spear, not on the ass end of the arrow, you know.
And you know,
I don't want to be the fletching.
if you
so-
want to go down that road, I think there are stronger possibilities for like the water, doing it from a water conservation standpoint, but
So obviously,
Something to think
we're
about.
back to a lot of discussion, so.
I think with climate change, tap fees should quadruple.
Well, that would be the get out of jail card for everything, but, probably except for you.
I understand.
Uh,
One of us is gonna do it, might as well be me.
All right, so what are we proposing? We gotta, what? We've had this conversation about getting an engineer, getting somebody to do a study. We've done this, and I'm like,
We'd like,
I would like to think I'm getting
$100,000 in
smarter.
this.
I would like to think I'm getting smarter, but I feel really stupid here because I'm having the same conversation again.
we do all the time.
I'm not gonna back off of this though.
I mean, there might be some money left for Ratillas. We could bring him in here, ask him to actually attend this meeting.
What we did the last time.
Reptilis doesn't do that. They just, so it would have to be a different firm. It would, if you want it, so what I hear two things. You suggested that we look at it, and adjusting the tap fees again based on CPI. I am saying I wouldn't do that. I would recommend going through this other method that has, so one of those would need, if you want to do this engineering study, we can put a
RFP request.
a holder in the budget when we come up on the November budget, and we can think about that for next year.
Meantime,
could
if you
do
want, we can put an
something-
RFP out there for it. It won't cost us anything if you want. It's up to you.
Hey, Dylan, does any of this sound like it's okay with you? I mean, you know, if you gotta throw the stupid card out, you know, let us know, so we're not going down the highway to hell again. 'cause I'm sick of
Yeah,
it.
no, there hasn't been any red card activity. There hasn't even really been any yellow card activity.
Well, so if I were to go in and say, oh, I'd like to go off of the CPI, are you gonna flag me for something?
Yes.
I
We're
tried.
gonna, we're gonna have, we're gonna have to have some more conversations about what the statutory purpose of impact fees are, system development fees. And
Well, I take a run at the chief.
See, I
That was
guess to
gonna be the
me,
next question.
I don't know how we get into the semantics and the verbiage, like you're saying, what constitutes what. But frankly, after just watching this for a little bit, paying engineers tens of thousands of dollars is getting us nowhere.
All right, let me ask you, because this will resonate. I don't mean to interrupt you. Do we need to hire an actuary?
No, that's not gonna help the situation.
Why
That's
wouldn't that help?
Because they only deal with life.
because they can't deal with the
Life and
system
death.
needs. We're looking at system needs and capacity. For example, if anything on that GSA property, we find out there is not enough capacity to serve, and we have to do any system updates for that. Right now, our master plan says we have excess capacity, there's no problems. So that's not an issue, those fees are not included. And we can develop more, so it would need, that's what I mean, we have those base assumptions that if they're wrong and we're out of capacity, that throws all of the calculations for the tap fees off.
So our
from there forward.
conversation with our manager said we are out of capacity
Yes,
on that one area. So we already have a problem there. We're saying we have capacity, but we don't.
right,
So what I'm hearing is we have to go, get an engineer to do an actual capacity study or again, or? I mean, a real, whatever, maybe I'm using the wrong words, because this seems like I'm doing this every year.
no, I know, I don't know enough to be able to say, in my world, when you flag all these areas, like the master plan did, said, we have zero capacity here. Then you fix them, and then you say, this is how much it's gonna cost to fix them, and then we can't grow anymore because we're already out and we're gonna need to replace it or upsize or do this. None of that future planning ever happened, never happened since the last master plan. So we're missing that whole part on how do we fix it? We just keep flagging these capacity problems and then saying, yeah, I don't know if I really believe it.
Yeah, so
We need to fix it and
Yeah.
cost it.
Okay, so let's make let's get going on that. What is that? Jeff, are you hearing the words that are,
Yeah, so
can you
what we-
translate what we're complaining about here?
Yeah, so real quick, just to get everybody on board. So if you look at here, let's just stand up. Just so everybody's aware, this is important. This is exactly what we're dealing with. So, these zones represent different types of storage tanks and different type of pumping zones. So
This is all water, not.
yeah, this is drinking water. This side is drinking water, that side is wastewater. So over here, we have what we call the pink zone, which was highly developed when they built St. Anthony's Hospital. But based on our operations, what we see is the pump stations in the pink zone are running 24/7 in the peak months of June, July, and August. So when you have a pump station running 24/7, it can't keep up. So it's at capacity. So that's what we're seeing in operations. But the kicker is that when we tell district engineers that, hey, we're seeing our pump stations running 24/7, they're like, oh no, we didn't see that on the master plan or the paper. So in reality, it's at capacity. So if they want to develop this as the GSA property they're selling, and say, hey, we're already at capacity, we need more storage tanks and more pump stations, which translates to more energy. The cost of materials are skyrocketing. Energy costs are up 18%, material costs are up 14%. So what we can do is take it one step at a time and just find another person that's an expert on this math calculation that Director Morgan is talking about, and just have them come to a board meeting just to discuss it, because we have resources with CDM Smith. They have lots of resources, and HDR, and even Barrick. So we have resources where we bring in a person just to say, hey, these are the options to solve this math equation. So makes our lawyer happy too.
So my battle, and I used to fight this in the HVAC world, there's always what's calculated and there's actuals.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a great disparity between the two. And the problem is if you're a good engineer or somebody looking at all this, you should be looking at all the variables and then you'll come to some mean average, right? There's what you calculated and there's what your actual is, whatever that is. And then it's like, there's a reason for the actual, but the actual is still the actual, which is this peak zone.
Yeah.
So we need to hire that engineering group that works off of not just sitting on a computer somewhere. They've got to go out and measure the actual quantifiable metrics of these overlay sewer and water as best we can, because we don't have metering devices on a lot of things. We do on this. We don't on that, except for the outflow, right?
Yes, and then we're proposing with capital extra. But we know based on studies, this line is over capacity right here. So this line needs to be replaced, both this line and the drinking water line. So that is an infrastructure replacement cost.
Okay, so with all that being said,
So can I make a motion to get a couple of quotes? I'd rather get quotes than talk about it again. That could be RFPs, but I mean, HDR, it would be easiest to see everybody's proposal. Make a motion to get a couple proposals for capacity improvement plans and capital improvement plans that can be used for incremental tap fee calculations.
so I think with that motion, we need to add in, they need to come in here and present and hear what the hell we're talking about. Maybe there's this communication thing, like they just hear what they want to hear.
They know what they're talking about.
Well,
The
but
Denver Water uses this model. We don't. We are using the same model, and Raftellus does the work for Denver Water. That's where they learned all this stuff.
But he's just telling me like Denver Water is $900 million in the red.
Yeah.
So I don't want, see, this is me not wanting to go down the road with somebody that doesn't look good.
Okay, but
And I'm.
but this isn't Raftellus. This is an engineering company.
You
This is
see where
not
I'm
a
going? I'm not
finance.
meaning to jump on you.
If
but
you
I'm
want to
just
talk to
saying-
them, that's fine. This is just for proposals. right
Yeah,
now.
I'm just
That's my
saying,
motion.
maybe we need to, we motion for that, but then we
Okay.
need to get them in here. And like, do you literally understand what we're saying? Do you, and we make sure that they're putting some kind of a proposal where they literally understand where we're going. I don't want some cookie cutter thing like Raftellus where they just, we're like,
Hey, there's 30,000-40,000 bucks, thank you.
Well, the flip side of that is let's acknowledge that sometimes the math is just math and you can't charge $15,000. And those districts that you're talking about that they have water rights. And if you've got water rights, Aurora, their tap fees are enormous because
Right.
those are, we have none of that. We
Yeah,
have
so,
nothing. We have those $100,000 pipes in the ground.
yeah, so Arapahoe County Water, is trying to buy water rights. They're $150 million in debt. They pay up to $4 to $5 million a year in interest just on their debt. So that's why they're up here. And then Roxborough is trying to get water from whoever they can because they're building, Sterling Ranch is gonna be huge by Roxborough Park. So that's why this is out. It's all debt and water rights.
It's water rights. That's just it. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
just because you're not getting the answer that you want, doesn't mean that the math justifies something different.
And keep in mind too, if you want, we could just bring in a representative from CDM Smith or HDR who's an expert just to chalk without paying them thousands
let's
of
do
dollars.
that. Let's have them come in, give a quick 15-minute
Yeah.
with that. Look, I understand what you're saying just because of math and I get that. Look, I love math and all that kind of stuff. But I also know that it depends on what you're trying to glean out with the math. Math is a tool. And I'm not liking the tool anymore because I don't think it's.
Well,
a
I
good
think
tool.
they're greatly overcharging us for, I mean, to me, not to be simple, but I'll use Raftellus. I think they probably charged us, maybe the first $2,000 or $3,000 what they charged us would have been realistic for what they gave us. To charge us how much was it? $35,000? $35,000 to put something in a spreadsheet. I can do that in 10 minutes for free. I'm just saying, I don't want to pay another engineer $30,000 or $40,000 to use some little formula that I don't know, maybe we should do our own formula. Or take theirs and just build our own model that does it ourselves.
We have to do something that's defensible, so we have to make sure we're meeting all these thresholds with the Colorado statutory laws, but.
Well, I'm just
But with
saying,
that
I
being said,
mean,
my sense of it is, it's still not right. I mean, I think that's a fair statement. I can't, it's like describing a black hole. I know they exist, I can't prove it, right? So this cannot be right, how this is going. It just cannot be right.
How about one of them, since we've worked with both of them before, we can pick one of them for one meeting and talk to them. I mean, I would say you could just,
You probably have more of a sense of who, because you've talked with all these people a lot. What's your feel? I mean, how do you feel with that?
I haven't talked to them about, I haven't talked to HDR at all. That's
Okay.
connection. So if you, I mean, I'm happy to talk to them and see if, and get the words. I think price is gonna be the catch point here for me.
I think
So
it is
that's
for
why the
me at this
proposals,
point.
like-
I'm not, for the amount of money we're being charged, knowing what I know now, it seems it's not just exorbitant, it's extremely exorbitant.
I couldn't disagree. All right. Is this clear as mud?
Yeah, so I understand, I wouldn't want to pay money for this reventing the wheel, that's what, because a lot of these calculations the first question they'll ask us, show us your master plan. And we always question going back to the master planning data. And that's what, Lactellus did, is they looked at the infrastructure master planning spreadsheet. So somehow, if you want, we can just bring in one expert from, if CDM Smith or HDR has an expert, just to talk, because we have service agreements with them. So we don't have to pay them thousands of dollars just to tell us what they know, what they can do for us.
So that also, all that data went to them before we declared the 0.7 threshold on the sewer pipes, correct? That information. So that's changed. That was a line in the sand.
Plus
that
the
they
pink
didn't have
zone
before.
tank is
Now we have
pumping
the
a lot
pink
more.
zone that's actual.
Yeah.
So that's gonna change. The 0.7 alone, based on calculations or theoretical, that should put a line in the sand.
Oh, sure, and CDM has a model already, so, or
Yeah, they're good.
wastewater, so they do have some of the data already, they're familiar with it.
This sounds good. They could talk to us, we could ask them questions, make a decision.
Well, I feel like probably I need to go to the Toastmasters, maybe and learn how to talk or something. I don't know. I feel like I'm not getting my point, but
No, I get that.
I mean, I'm really, really frustrated. with
It's
this.
just frustrating to me that the formulas don't reflect reality. They aren't reflecting the reality of a business model. I mean, it's all way in the past.
But
Yeah.
how can they do anything different when we don't have the plan for the future? That's the whole problem. We don't have.
Well, but it
the
doesn't
plan.
sound like if we plugged in futuristic numbers, are you allowed to do that, or do they have to be past them?
No, you can put in future numbers, but you have to say what you're going to build and how much you think it's gonna cost. That's the future plan. That's what I ask for every meeting. This is what we need. This is what we need to fix. This is how we need to grow the pipes. This is what we need to do. That's what you need. You're right. We are doing it based on the past. But we can't change that until you do an engineering report to plan for the future.
So that's step one.
That's step one.
So we don't need a motion, so we will get in.
We just bring in, keep in mind too, there is a request for bid to keep modifying the wastewater collection system plan, looking at the capacity. So that's already out for bid. So, but this plan will take a piece of that to calculate, tap fee, just like you want incremental tap fees.
So there's a large sense of urgency around this. So, because we're coming up on budgets and all that. So
Yeah.
we need somebody to get in here at this next meeting and be ready to probably a 15-minute.
Ask another question. But what I'm understanding is part of our problem was over that 23-year period, we weren't on top of it, and that put us way behind. Is there some way mathematically to adjust the numbers of 23 years ago as if we had been on top of it and had done what we were supposed to be doing. And now we're in a position of where we should have been, or we should be.
The answer is no. I know, and you're applying logic, and this is where you're, we all agree to that, but then the answer to that a year or two ago was no. Great logic point. Some reason the statutory laws could give two craps about that. So I don't know why. It's why we need different legislators, I guess. So you need to get somebody that's accountable in government that actually does understand the value of something that the taxpayers burden all their shoulder every day. Rather, some people can run amok and other people are constrained. So it doesn't make sense to me, but that's the law. Does that sound okay, Dylan? Am I not going to jail tonight?
You're not going to jail tonight
Okay. All right. I think
on this issue.
On this one, okay. Don't forget to send me a care package of chocolate and other items if I disappear. Okay.
If we wanted to move on that yet this year, we still probably could, because there's still probably, what's the status of cameras? You starting anything with that, cameras?
Oh, Tamarisk, it's in the design stages with marriage, but it won't, so it's budgeted at $450,000. I don't, there's no way, I doubt if we'll spend 450,000. Matter of fact, we're going to be pretty favorable in capital due to this supply chain issues and shortage of labor issues. So we'll be, by the end of the year, we'll have to carry those capital items.
We're gonna underrun again.
Yeah, plus, we have 250,000 in contingency alone. There's no way we're gonna spend that. I think.
So it'd be a good time to do a thought experiment, it's just pencil pushing maybe on this one.
Yeah.
Okay, just checking. Thank
Yeah,
you.
we can, yeah. So just to clarify, you want me to get a hold of experts either from CDM Smith, HDR, or whoever, to bring them in and say, this is what they've done in the past, this is what they can do, and then we can talk and discuss the issues we've seen with the calculations.
So let me ask the board real quick. I hate to put this in a regular board meeting. Do we want to have a special meeting where, give it an hour and a half or something like that? And, I don't want to be under pressure to get everything done, especially with this. I'm like, they're gonna have to put me in a padded room if I have to keep going through this, so.
Well, I think we need to wait till we have some answers first. Like to me, maybe if a person came in and talked to us, or you want to talk to anybody that's out there.
I want to hear a couple of people listen to us, we listen to them. Actually, they need to listen to us. It's like, here's what we're wanting. Here's the goal. Can we get there with your services? And then if we can, how much and how soon? Pretty simple, but maybe this still, someone's gonna have to take me out. Oh my God.
And keep in mind too, that there's $600 million set aside, like we talked about, for the bipartisan infrastructure law for the state of Colorado for water and wastewater infrastructure. A lot of that money's set aside for lead piping and dealing with PFAS, PFAS. But
Well, we put in for whatever we.
4 million. So we put in for 4 million. So our goal is to try to get that interest free. So, but this calculation, if they come back with a capacity, everything overlaps. So let's say a engineering company comes back and says, oh yeah, you guys, you're really desperate on capacity on these wastewater lines in this pink zone here, and we get you $4 or $6 million on that, and also you can use that in the calculation for tap fees, just for example, maybe, because everything's overlapped.
So you say the pink zone too, but she's in yellow zone, I think, and your water pressure's at
Oh, yeah.
40, 50 PSI, so what's the deal up
Pressure's
there?
low up there.
Anyway, that's for different, I'm pretty sure we got,
We have issues.
this is where I retired from, here it is, so, back in the woods. Okay. Let's get a couple of people in, or somebody in high level, and then if we need, or do we want to have a special meeting for that? It's up to you guys. I just don't want to be compressed in a board meeting. To me, this is important. I don't wanna, this is really critical. And it's either, you know, we take the time and hear it out and we have this kind of a conversation and make sure we understand each other.
So we line people up, are they coming this time?
Yeah.
I'm asking for a friend.
Yeah.
If we're gonna do a special meeting, might as well just be cast, both of them, CDM and HDR.
Yeah, they might know somebody else too. We'll start with those two. CDM and HDR. And who knows, maybe they'll refer to Racktober.
Yeah, I don't wanna go back there.
No.
That didn't work for me.
Okay. Let's do that, and then if you would send that information, I would like to see us probably schedule a special meeting to hear them, or let them hear us, and then we will hear them. See if we can come up with some damn solution.
I was this close to scheduling another meeting in 2 weeks. Are you thinking in 2 weeks then? You have to give them 2 weeks notice, not next week?
Yeah, 2 weeks is fine.
I like that.
What date are we talking about?
That'd be what,
Roughly.
the 28th?
I have to look at the calendar.
Send out some
27th is
theoreticals.
Tuesday.
We'll
Oh, yeah, we could just look, Sam has it up on the screen. See how bad I am at adding? That's why I'm gonna count.
Yeah, 27th looks tentatively okay.
Unless they can't come and.
Yeah.
Well, then
Push
I
it to the
guess
fourth.
they're in a good business model, they don't need any work. So.
Yeah,
I probably can't be here that date. If you could do it the end of the week, that week would be good, but
What's the end of the week mean?
the 29th.
yeah, somewhere in there.
Can't do the 30th.
Or
29th
hold
works
it
for me.
without me. Yeah, I got a kid in town that lives out of the country.
It's just gonna be, we're not gonna vote on anything. You could probably listen to the,
29th would work. I could do it.
That works for me too.
everyone good with the 29th?
Why not?
Okay, 29th,
I think it works for me.
I may have to dial in, but
that's fine. Okay, all right. Dylan, you're up.
Wait, didn't I already go?
No,
We hit legal matters,
yeah,
cost sharing American homes.
Yeah, so there are two issues with that. I revised or finalized the revisions to the proposed cost sharing agreement and sent them off to their attorney, and that was about 2 weeks ago, and I haven't heard back. There are two pending matters in that agreement that they've requested that I will bring to you now. The first is that they want a not to exceed provision in there, so they will pay 50% of the expense of the oversizing project up to a not to exceed amount. And that hadn't been part of the negotiations, so I didn't have a position on it when their attorney asked me about it. So I'm presenting that to you for your consideration. Part of that, I think, is part of that decision, I think, would be important to know what the bids come in at. If it's, you know, if the bids are very reasonable, I think a not to exceed is more reasonable than if they're very unreasonable, then a not to exceed is less reasonable. And I don't know, I don't have any insight into the bid status. And similarly, they want, or they have asked for an escrow process for their payments, which I don't have any real objection to, but also had not been discussed in negotiations, so I'm bringing that to you. Essentially, they want the district to provide them the invoices for the costs in an ongoing basis. They will pay those into an escrow account. They will be dispersed according to some process rather than them paying the district directly, primarily to protect them in the event that there's some costs that they dispute. If there's a dispute, they'll pay them into the escrow, the dispute will be resolved, and then the funds will be dispersed.
Are we talking about this in the executive session to conclude or to find answers to that?
I'm happy to have that conversation in an executive session. That's up to you. It would be a negotiation, instructions to negotiators probably, rather than legal advice.
Okay, we'll save that for executive session then, and any litigation updates or Big Sky updates?
No, there has been no action in the past month. I can give a brief rundown of the statuses of the litigation. I know that that was requested during public comment. So the Young versus Green Mountain, that was a homeowner had sewage backed up into their home, into their basement. They sued the district. Insurance counsel is handling that for the district. At the trial court, insurance counsel for the district moved to dismiss on governmental immunity grounds. The trial court denied that motion to dismiss. The district appealed that denial, asserting either that the denial was improper and that the case should be dismissed on immunity grounds, or that at the very least the trial court should have held a hearing on whether it has subject matter jurisdiction. The Court of Appeals has issued its opinion finding the latter, that not to dismiss the case on immunity grounds, but to order the trial court to have a hearing on that question. So I don't know, that opinion came down about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So in about 5 or 6 weeks, that case will be returned to the jurisdiction of the trial court for that hearing. Insurance counsel has been pretty good about providing updates to me, which I pass along to the board. So we'll know in advance probably when that hearing is scheduled.
So is this something we could talk about in executive session too, or do we have to go into a separate executive session?
That would probably be legal advice, so that would be a separate executive session. Do you have particular questions about that you think would be best addressed in executive session?
There's some things I might ask some questions about.
Yeah, the answer is yes. I'm like saying, yeah, like, you know, so we're gonna have to do 2 executive sessions.
Okay. You might also, I have not been prosecuting or defending that case, obviously, so you might consider getting a hold of insurance counsel to participate in that and deferring that to another meeting.
I think we just want to bounce some stuff off of you.
Okay, I understand. I can do that. And the Big Sky appeal is fully briefed. I believe Mr. Gessler is intending to request oral argument. I don't recall offhand if he has made that request. That's several months out from a decision, probably sometime at this point, middle of next year, possibly earlier, but that's my best estimate. The Big Sky trial case, the bill of costs matter has been resolved, so there's no action at the trial court. The federal litigation, all of the pending motions to dismiss on various legal theories have been handed off to a recently appointed magistrate judge for ruling. So that is also essentially stayed. It's in limbo while we wait for those motions to be ruled on.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, we'll close out legal and we'll roll into executive session. I'd like to ask for a 10-minute bio break before we dive in there. And so at 10 minutes after 9, we will come back and we'll have you read the sacred words and go and do their first of 2 executive sessions. If that's okay with everybody.
You want to do the contract negotiation one first?
Yes.
Okay. Can do.
And we'll be having the former director who has been working as a liaison participating in that first executive session.
Okay.
Okay. Here Everyone take a break. Thank you, gentlemen. for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Thanks for allowing us. We appreciate your time very much.
Yeah, so we'll stay in contact and we have to get you information.
Thanks very much. We appreciate it. Always.
I hope that.
No. I'm appreciative of the good staff. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, the other day, you know,
I'm with you totally.
Where it could be smooth, I want it.
oversimplified, I'm always thinking, when there's a will,
We're
there's a way.
sympathetic.
If you have enough money.
Nice meeting you.
Somebody who's very creative.
Hope you guys do.
Somebody out there.
Not maybe even better, because now we're gonna be here forever, so.
Is it for you?
Make sure you guys might as well.
All they know. Have a good evening.
So it should keep on, it might still should be just
I still think it's just.
Oh, yeah.
I have two of these. Yeah. I don't even know what's happening.
But it's audited. So it sends CQ. On doing other things. District board and stuff. They're sitting there. And I was responsible each week. It sends constantly while I'm there.
Oh, of course, I get it.
And I was gonna do it myself, it would be the reality temp.
Yeah.
100 watts would be easy.
Well, that's.
See,
what
I
I'm
used to
thinking,
run
if
a
somebody's
40,
creative
80,
enough,
I was running single
there's
site.
a way. I don't know what it is.
Each
But there's
every
somebody-
one-on-one.
I built
It's all so different now.
Yeah,
The
why?
radio's this big.
Yeah.
It covers all the bands.
Sometimes I have something.
160. Yeah.
Well, garbage in, garbage out. Yeah, that's survival. It certainly makes it.
On the
Well,
website.
And I guess that goes back to the question about. That's right. Just so I don't keep in touch 3 years ago, we still didn't know where we're at.
20
But
minutes.
then it's there, it could be fixed.
Their maximum amount of time is 15.
Well, if you fix it for.
15.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what it was. Our capital improvement budget, that's a number.
Settings.
Yeah, let's triple what we're gonna spend.
Display and print.
That changes the place.
You can turn it never. The nice thing about having
Triple our
it
expenditures.
set to a time on it.
So we take that number and if you triple 14,000,
Perfectly definitely. Which is kind of a nice piece of art.
yeah, I appreciate it. Let me grab your charger here before. Can't be there.
I can get it. Don't worry about it.
Well, again, I would say, I was gonna say, if you buy the talent.
Hold that forward.
So I go back to that, I remember, of course, I just listening to this next recording. The meeting we had, it was a 4-to-1 vote that the increase of that would be a certain amount. And I thought, we're doing it like that. There you go. Just keep going.
Able to see where the data.
No.
But it's just what you said, that's right.
It's the sort of thing, well, generally in life, is if some, you get a baseline, at some point, everything's good from here, and that's your foundation, and just keep building on that. Now, of course, you have a bad foundation, which you can't build crap, but, it's like, get yourself a good foundation, and then work from there.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out how it went for 10 years.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, all that makes sense, because the last time they'd done that was like an odd something, right?
Yeah, and as far as that happened, well, it's like, you know, all the director of these boards before was totally out of it. But it's like, why should that be pulled back? Can't we somehow adjust? Say, you know, go back and fix it.
Well, that's where we were going, right? And all that makes logical sense. You got this catch-up thing, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, If it was anything except what you're talking about, that makes sense, but it's like you can only go off of the thing we just can't seem to capture. And that's why I'm just getting all this heartburn. It's like we keep talking about getting the capacity studies, understanding the capacities, and how does this all roll up into the actual tap fees? And I'm like looking at these cheap tap fees, and then everything else, I mean, for God's sakes, $7 grand is cheap, man. I mean, that's cheap stuff.
Well, I agree with you, worth a try.
Why are you not talking to me? You canceled your club membership.
We were. University last night. Like administrator, I had believe started at 5.
Just like to use it like
I was almost right.
Oh, I talked to me all the way on.
Oh. And you know the way things go, that we're.
I like those old ones, though. They don't make those things like that. There's probably those.
Yeah. Just have to make sure.
Industrial steel.
No, or the first.
Before the original plastic.
Club USA charged Garrett for the other month. I don't know if he didn't fill out, I filled out all the paperwork to cancel everything, but they still charged him a whole other month. Yep.
They don't give them access to like whatever that orange period or whatever that thing.
Choose.
That Jimmy's going to.
I'm not.
Is that where he's going?
Yeah.
We're not gonna just do that arbitrarily now until we get the numbers. We think that's a reasonable amount. You guys are good, we're gonna tell you. This will, responsibility is to our presidents, not to them. Better hope nobody, everybody doesn't flush at the same time in that pink zone.
Okay.
Better hope there's not a big fire in those summer months and you gotta hook up them pumper trucks. Do a big structure fire or something like that and then run out of juice.
I guess we don't have any time tonight, but now that I think about it, at some point, we were gonna get a briefing as to what is the background of our dealing with the Fed Center. When the time comes and we have to deal with.
That's coming, so I think it's trying to understand. There's a lot to understand, so the person sitting behind you tonight has got a lot of FOIA requests into that on multiple levels, Cora, FOIAs, etc. So I think when we know more, then we'll know more.
There's a good history of the IGA and all the expenses, the agreement with the Fed Center and St. Anthony. Yeah. Looked to me like the assumptions were there wasn't going to be any development in that contaminated area anytime soon.
Well, and it got shot down in 2017 or 18.
They were gonna put that big homeless thing in there.
Right, and that went away, but the problem is that $80 million in federal money. To keep the color of that money it's there, it's still, it's changing the name on it.
3,600.
Huh?
3,600 money.
Yeah, well, and then the Lakewood has 8 million, I think, earmarked for that area too. Some about a bridge too over 6th Avenue, another bridge that we're all paying for something we shouldn't be paying for. That's we'll see. We can't get them to pay for this other one. People that borrowed money to do this C470
The
element.
dinos, we paid for all of that and not making them pay us back.
Yeah, that's a little Christmas gift. So I'm always concerned about us writing.
I don't know who the attorney was for the roomies, but they needed a better one.
All right, we're ready, Dylan.
All right. I need a motion and a second and a vote on entering into the executive session for negotiation purposes.
I'm gonna make a motion to go into executive session for discussing legal strategy on the cost sharing for AWH.
I'll second it.
We have a second, we have discussion. No discussion, call for vote, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All 5 directors have said aye, the motion is passed.
All right. On September 13th at 9:09 PM, the district has voted to convene in an executive session for the purposes of strategy and instructions for negotiations and positions on matters which might be the subject of negotiations under Colorado Revised Statute 246402 sub 4 sub E. For the record, I am Dylan Woods, attorney for the district. Also present at this executive session are the directors, former director Dave Garner, member of the negotiating committee, district manager Jeff Tyus, and who's running the computer? Are you staying in tonight?
I'll step out.
Okay, and that's it. To satisfy the open meetings law, this executive session is being electronically recorded. I caution each participant to confine all discussions to the stated purpose of the executive session and that no formal action may occur in the executive session. If at any point in the executive session, any participant believes that the discussion is going outside the proper scope of the executive session, please interrupt the discussion and make an objection. All right, if you want to end the recording, kick everybody but me out and then restart the recording, that'll be good.